headless mannequins,
Adam Curry, John C. Dvorak.
It's Sunday, October 28th, 2018. This is your award-winning Gitmo Nation Media Assassination episode 1081.
This is No Agenda.
It's always surprising in October, and broadcasting live from the capital of the Drone Star State here in downtown Austin, Tejas, in the Cludio. In the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where they're trying to sink the stock market, that's my idea. I'm John C. Dvorak.
It's Crackpot and Buzzkill in the morning.
Who is they?
Silicon Valley.
The Silicon Valley's trying to sink the stock market?
Yeah, they did it before, 99, 2000. It was Silicon Valley that sunk the market.
Yes, but you think they're actively trying to sink it?
I think it's something in their DNA.
It's unintentional. Yeah, they become self-hating, kind of.
Yeah, self-loathing.
Self-loathing. Self-loathing billionaires. Exactly.
Woo.
Yeah. Well, I don't have any money in the market, so I'm happy. I'm okay.
Yeah, you're being good. Well, you can be short. It probably might not be a bad thing.
I don't have time to play these games.
It's silly.
Yeah, I already vape enough. I don't need to be day trading. I got enough douchebag monikers on me. Well, did anything happen in between shows? Hey.
No, I don't know. Let me think. I think the Nielsen's came out, maybe. I'm not
we
sure.
have this October surprise idea, which is, I guess, was coined in the. Let me see. That was the coming out of Carter.
I think that's the first time I remember it.
Yeah, with the Iranian hostages. That was the October surprise. And it clinched the election, they say.
For Reagan.
For Reagan, yeah.
Supposedly.
So now we're always waiting for these October surprises. And I'm like, it's okay. I got it. We have enough surprises
we've been doing this show for 11 years.
Yes.
And how many October surprises have we actually seen that were genuine? I don't remember even one. There's just these little incidents.
Yeah,
What happened during the Hillary Trump thing? There was no October surprise. I mean, it already took whatever was surprising was in August and September.
Well, that's not true. We had all kinds of surprises with the emails at the 2 weeks before the election.
That was way before October.
No. When Comey came out and said he created his own October surprise. Yeah, come on.
I don't consider that much of a surprise.
Well, no one was surprised by the news, but it was supposed to be a surprise. Yeah, I don't know. But
I think it's interesting that we have a whole bunch of things happening at once in some way to create a critical mass of Democrat support.
Well, and let's turn that. Let's look at it differently in this case. Let's just say it's a little disheartening that anything that happens immediately has to be Trump. We don't even have time to process what's taking place. People are being shot up. There's there's the threat of pipe bombs. We still have the Khashoggi. I'm sorry, I got to do that right.
Jamal Khashoggi.
We still got him. Khashoggi. We still got him to deal with.
Yeah, that's kind of fallen off the front page, that's for sure.
Well, and then you got to wonder, is that a good thing that fell off the front page? And then we have the pipe bomber, and we arrested him. Everything was perfect, and clearly a Trump guy. And then we have the Squirrel Hill shooting. It's like, wow, this is. And did you see the posting from the Squirrel Hill synagogue shooter that he said, screw you with your what did he say? Screw you with your.
I don't have it in front of me.
With your optics. With your optics.
Yeah, he said that's right. He said, "Screw you with your optics." There's no MAGA with all these Jews, or use the derisive term "kike."
Yeah, well, this guy was a
lunatic.
Yeah, this guy was something different. In fact, he did not like Trump. If you look at his all the pictures he had on his social media,
he's a Jew hater to this extreme,
and believed Trump was controlled by the Jews.
Yeah, and his daughter was, I guess, a sacrifice or something. I have no idea. This guy was a lunatic.
Yeah.
But his statements before the shoot, this guy was, I don't know, this is the most suspicious thing I've seen, because this guy's either hypnotized or, there was no reason for him to do anything. he had a big grudge against the Jewish immigration operation that helps refugees from, I guess, the Middle East or elsewhere that are Jewish kind of settled in the United States. And he claimed that they were killing his people.
Yeah, well, the thing is,
what was that all about? Who are they killing?
So if this guy is real,
yeah, I agree with the part. So if this guy, something's fishy about this character.
So if this guy is
not that he didn't shoot anybody, no. Place.
Well, but this is the way he comes across. This is a real Nazi who really loved Hitler for his extermination of the Jews, and down to a T. You look at these guys; they all believe this. Trump is under control of the Jews, which of course makes it really odd for you to then also call Trump Hitler. It's like we have a lot of mixed messages going on. A lot.
Did anyone make up their mind about this Trump guy?
So I got some of this guy's pictures here. Let me take a look. So we've had Robert Bowers, right?
Yeah, Robert Bowers.
Yeah.
Which also harkens to the Bauer name in the 24.
Jack Bauer?
Jack Bauer. Not spelled the same, but it's still, you remember Jack Bauer, big hero. And now you got Robert Bowers. So it's immediately a white guy. Has to be white.
It is always very irritating when you see that there was a a drill in January of this year for a mass shooting event at the Squirrel Hill Synagogue.
Really?
Yeah. It's always, I really hate it. Now, it wasn't like last week. But
it's not like the coincidence the day before that you used to like the catch.
No, but still, it's like, wow. So the only thing I can, I don't know what to say about this right now. We really don't have a lot of information other than this. Just maybe this guy was spurned on by what? Well, maybe we'll never find out. I don't know. We haven't. Is he still alive? He's still alive, right?
Yeah, and there's also the Farrakhan thing, which came up in the conversation because he's the one who was condemning the Jews for, I don't know, calling them termites or something, which was reiterated, or not reiterated, but it was discussed by who's our lawyer that Dershowitz came out, and he actually said that the Nazis used to actually use the term termite. As a derisive
really
term for that's what according to, and Dershowitz is usually not making stuff up, and but this was like brushed under the. I mean, it's like, well, now you get a white guy doing the dirty work of the Nation of Islam. I mean, this whole thing is, and this is a distraction from what the whole thing is just like an unfortunate. Mess, but it does come down to Trump. There's somehow Trump's
yes. Well, and there is one other thing that's taking place because of this, and you'll start to see this happen more and more. I believe now I don't know. Was it the Squirrel? Yeah, it was the Squirrel Hill shooter. I think he had an account on Gab, which everyone is heralding.
I hate to be an idiot.
Yeah.
But I don't think I ever heard of this operation.
Yeah, someone even got me an account. They reserved my name on time.
Adam Curry, white supremacist.
That's right.
Is that the name you're going to use there? Yeah.
I don't think it's a white supremacist. It's an alternative to Twitter. There's a couple of, Steam It is another one. There's different models, and this is now. You'll see it. I mean, I'm sure we'll be able to get some clips today after the show. They'll be talking about Gab as. This is insane. This is crazy. How can you have a social network that doesn't remove hateful speech? And so they've already been, I think they're still up, but the PayPal already shut off. You can't pay for anything with PayPal. They can't take any money. I believe their host was kicking them off yesterday. They were being, as they say, no platformed by their hosting provider.
So it sounds to me as though the system is you can't use it unless you pay to be on it. Is that their model?
Well, I have not logged into it. So I have an account, but I've never logged into it because I'm not interested. No, I'm not.
We have our own Mastodon account.
Well, when
NoAgendaSocial.com. Why don't you plug that?
Here, a social network that champions free speech, individual liberty, and the free flow of information online. All are welcome. Well, that's obviously hate speech right there. That's Nazi shit right there.
Yeah. Oh, obviously. It might as well have the blink tag,
blink tag with a swastika blinking. So you can be anonymous on Gab. Now Steemit works differently with they have a crypto integration. So you have an account, and if people are looking at your stuff, then you can get some of these crypto coins and goodies and whatever. And which may be a future of working. But the bottom line is, these companies, which are by definition, they're centralized somehow because they're centralizing their services, they're going to all be taken down one by one. If you don't play along with the Independent Fact Check Network, which includes everything from Tucker Carlson's Daily Caller Foundation, I'm sorry, Frat Boy Tucker, to Snopes, which it's like the two extremes really of facts. If you don't participate in the network, then you're going to be taken down, and companies will not do business with you because who wants to be associated with hate speech? So then.
Wait, whatever happened to the free and open internet?
Well, I'm preparing something for Thursday's show where I can actually talk about something that's going on that I think is worthwhile discussing. But we have too much to do today. But no, there is no free and open internet. Especially, and even though this is protected, Gab, by definition, by the law, is protected under Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. By not censoring anything, they're not responsible for what shows up on their servers. That's the idea. It was a library. Of course, we have Twitter and Facebook who are playing along nicely, and Google, who are getting rid of stuff and deleting and deplatforming and shadow banning, whatever they're accused of. They're definitely getting rid of accounts. That to me is editorializing. They should not be protected under Section 230.
Yes, I actually have written about this in the past.
Yeah, so we've talked about it many times. They should not be protected against Section 230.
They should be reliable for everything that happens.
But you can see what's actually happening is companies don't want to be associated with someone who stands for free speech, or a company
brand
that
safe,
stands.
Baby, brand safe.
Yeah, exactly. If people just paid for their services, we wouldn't have this issue.
Well, they do on Gab, maybe. I think. I mean, I'm the impression.
No, we wouldn't have run up against this because we wouldn't have to have the brand safe. No one would care about brand safeness because that's really what it is. That's how it all started. Brands don't want to be associated with any of this speech. Anyway, so it's just too early for this show, I think, to have any valuable deconstruction of what happened in Squirrel Hill. It's just too early. Other than you watch, Gab is going away, and any other centralized service that doesn't play along with the system, they're going to go away. That's about the only thing I can know for sure.
Well, so we have a bunch of elements here on today's show because it's confluence time. And I think this is going to continue right up to the midterms.
Yeah,
it's going to stop.
Right. I think you're right.
It's going to
stop again. Everything will end. Don't worry. Just look at the ground. It will all go away. The spinning will stop.
But we have the confluence of the Bonesaw guy, which is fading fast.
Yeah, I got some stuff on Bonesaw guy.
Okay, we'll go with that, and then we also have Kelly still in the news, and that's gonna crap out. Well, and then we have these two elements. Which is, I think, the more interesting of the stories is the Sayok character,
yes,
who purports to be a Seminole.
I have a transitional clip. Shorty. This will take us from Gab and the Squirrel Hill shooter to the MAGA bomber.
He was the sole follower of two accounts. And one of the accounts was called, the first name was Kill George and the last name was Soros.
So there is a Facebook account out there that is allowed on Facebook that exists.
Kill George Soros.
Called Kill George Soros.
Yeah, and there's another one called Kill All Socialists.
Okay, so here's the page, Kill George Soros. This man is the only follower. Do we know who owns this page or who set it up?
That's the problem. We can't figure that out.
Right. Why? Why can't we?
Because
it's...
What? Wait a minute. You've got a page that says Kill George Soros and is followed by one guy and you can't figure out who set up the page?
Do we know who's
Who owns this page or who set it up?
That's the problem. You can't figure that out.
Right.
Why? Why can't we?
We're
Because
so
it's anonymous on
stupid.
Facebook.
And it's permissible on Facebook.
Yep.
Isn't that amazing? To you?
Here's the thing. It really isn't. The service is so big that they can't catch all these things. And that's a problem in itself. But you figure there would be a flag for something
There'd
like
be some kind of algorithm that says kill George or kill anybody.
Yeah, we just get a flag, an algo. That should do it. Why can't the algos take care of it? This is crazy. Who set it up? I can't believe it.
What's there to figure out?
Well, it's true that just a page on Facebook, you can't necessarily see who set it up. But, I mean, yeah, figure it out. It seems pretty odd. But that wasn't the point. The point was Facebook's not taking care of business. It should not have never been allowed.
Well, no, there was 2 points there. One was, you can't put a page up like that, supposedly. The second point is, it's obvious this guy set it up. He's the only follower. I mean, come on, dummies.
Yeah. Now,
but they're so befuddled by this. Let's play this clip.
Okay.
I don't have a lot of clips, but they're all miscellaneous.
I have some stuff.
I know. I figured you were going to be loaded up, so I backed off.
Okay.
There's a couple of things I want to play. Let's play this. Rick Wilson. This is Rick Wilson on MSNBC. Wait, no. Let's push that one away. I'll bring that one back in. Roker on Kelly. We're not going to talk about Kelly. We're talking about Sayok. Well, actually, let's start with the rap on Sayok from CBS. So let's go to the CBS rap.
Pipe bombs delivered and discovered across the country. 56-year-old Caesar Sayok is in custody tonight facing federal charges that include illegal mailing of explosives and threatening a former president. He could get up to 48 years in prison. Sayok is accused of mailing homemade bombs to critics of President Trump and prominent Democrats, including former President Obama and former Secretary of State Clinton, among others. A fingerprint and a cell phone signal led to the suspect, who has openly and aggressively threatened Democrats online. Sayok has a long rap sheet and has been an outspoken supporter of President Trump. Manuel Bojorquez begins our coverage in Florida.
Yes, Trump. It's all Trump.
Yeah, so they focus on. There was a couple of things in there I thought were odd. I mean, they bring it up a little bit in the story, but I'll alert you to the guy has got his truck with his dubious stickers. Theirs is covered with stickers. He's got no stickers on his truck. They're all inside the windows, and they're vinyl, and they're pushed against the window. They're kind of pressed up against the window. Many of them are like creations. Yeah. A lot of them say CNN sucks is one of the main things. And everybody likes talking about that. CNN.
Especially CNN.
Yeah, they love saying, look at this guy, CNN sucks. This is the kind of people that think we suck. That's doing an association with Trump. Trump thinks CNN sucks. This crazy guy thinks he sucks. Hey, Trump's crazy. So let's listen to the rest of this.
Number 2, I guess.
Yeah, we just took him into custody.
Grainy surveillance footage captured the moment federal agents set off a loud blast to take down Cesar Sayok in Plantation, Florida, early this morning. Agents say a cell phone signal.
Stop. They set off a loud blast, is what they said, right?
Yeah, I've not heard any reporting on any blast. This is the first I'm hearing of it.
Well, then his own report, when they talked to some people who witnessed the whole thing, because he's in an auto zone. They never can explain why. And then he comes out and gets in his truck for I don't know what he was doing there. And the witnesses that watched this don't talk about this explosion either.
I didn't know about the explosion, haven't heard about the explosion. This is completely new to me.
I think this was just put in to excite the listener. I honestly believe this was put in to excite the listener because these bombs, none of them exploded because they were one of them was supposedly filled with sulfur, which you couldn't make explode unless you mix it with all kinds of things. And I think the lack of an explosion has kind of drained the story of its drama. And so I think they just threw that in.
That's very odd. I don't know.
Yeah, we just took him into custody.
Grainy surveillance footage captured the moment.
Oh, okay. Wait, maybe it was a flash bang. Maybe that's what it was.
No, but there was no witnesses that saw a flash bang.
Well, this guy did.
Why would you need one? Hold on a second. He's in the auto zone.
I don't know, John.
They're not going to throw a flash
hold on. Let's just stop for 1 second. I don't know if he was in the auto zone. I don't know anything. All I've seen is a van.
I do. I've been following this part of it.
Did you see him in the AutoZone? I'm just saying there's a lot of misinformation in the fog of war.
I'm not going to say that this is absolutely true, but the way the story is, the way the narrative goes,
all right,
he was in the AutoZone.
Okay.
They just grabbed him when he came out, and according to this witness, he was sedate. He says, "Hey, okay, yeah, I know. I expected to get caught." He didn't struggle. So there was no reason to do a flashbang, and you're not going to do it in an AutoZone with all those oil products in there.
Good point.
Catch the place on fire? I don't think so. And you're not going to do it outside when the guy's already given up. So if you listen to the whole thing, let's listen to it from the beginning, then you'll hear that it makes no sense what they're telling us.
Yeah, we just took him into custody.
Grainy surveillance footage captured the moment federal agents set off a loud blast to take down Cesar Sayoc in Plantation, Florida early this morning. Agents say a cell phone signal led them outside to this AutoZone, where dozens of law enforcement agents surrounded him near his white van. Tom Fiore works across the street and saw the arrest go down.
His demeanor, what you saw when he was arrested, was almost, I knew they were coming.
Yeah, it almost had that. He had the look of, okay, well, you know what, I'm done. I surrender. Y'all got me.
Officials drove the van with a tarp covering it to an FBI field office, but had to stop after the tarp blew off. Investigators say a trail of DNA evidence left on the packages steered them towards Sayoc. FBI Director Christopher Wray.
They uncovered a latent fingerprint from one of the envelopes containing an IED. We have confirmed this fingerprint is that of Cesar Sayoc.
According to a newly filed complaint, investigators say packages sent to billionaire George Soros, President Barack Obama, former CIA Director John Brennan, and Congresswoman Maxine Waters included their photos with red X's through them.
Though we're still analyzing the devices in our laboratory, these are not hoax devices.
Yeah, I really like that little addition. And there was a lot of this, and I'm going to talk about the affidavit from the FBI in a moment. There was all kinds of very important messaging going on here. So these were,
and I want to mention this since you stopped this, which is good. The storyline as he's portraying it on CBS, he says, and I watched this. It has nothing to do with the story. It has nothing to do with anything, and they throw in this detail that they had to stop towing the truck because the tarp blew off, and then they have a visual of this.
Oh yeah.
What has that got to do with anything?
That was, well, just letting everybody know that we wanted to have a nice close-up shot of the crazy stickers. We did our job, I guess.
Through them.
Huh?
I just found it to be very peculiar just throwing that detail in.
Though we're still analyzing the devices in our laboratory, these are not hoax devices.
So we're still examining, but they're not hoax.
The arrest comes after law enforcement in Florida, New York, and California intercepted 4 additional packages today. Democratic New Jersey Senator Cory Booker, former Director of National Intelligence James Clapper, Democratic Senator Kamala Harris, and billionaire donor Tom Steyer became the latest targets. At the White House, President Trump praised the quick arrest.
These terrorizing acts are despicable and have no place in our country.
At least 13 mail bomb packages were sent. The first device was delivered on Monday to the home of billionaire George Soros. Investigators say all of the devices were similar. All of the intended targets have been vocal critics of the president.
All right, so Manny, you're now at this AutoZone store where the arrest was made in Plantation. Any idea what he was doing in that parking lot?
Well, Jeff, at this point, there is no indication that he was an employee of the AutoZone. Earlier, we did see FBI agents in there trying to get more information, but so far they've not revealed why they believe he was here in the first place.
Now, I watched, very briefly, I watched MSNBC, who was not read, if this was some kind of setup, was not, and obviously, it looks like it could be just because of the fact that nothing exploded and there's lots of things wrong and we're talking through them. But MSNBC is not a part of this, or NBC. This is Chuck Todd.
This feels like a spot. I have this fear that it could be some Russian operation, too, designed to do what's happening now. More of this. So in some ways, we shouldn't rule out.
I'm just saying it's a very strange moment.
Yes. Chuck Todd didn't get any memo. But CNN, I quickly switched to CNN. They really had some interesting things to say. This was 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And this one, I forget her name. I think it's Casey. I think her name Casey. She does the show Casey in DC. Casey something or other. And she's on air, and she gets a lot of big scoops. Starts off with some reporter, and he comes in, and he's talking about all the things he already knew.
What do we have? What is the very latest on this man?
We don't know who he is. We really don't know anything about him. Here's the bottom line.
So this was really early on, so we did not know his name.
Since last night, I would say, early last evening, we had heard that there was significant progress had been made and that they believed they had identified someone who was responsible for this, or at least that's their suspicion was last night. That is the authorities. They've been doing a lot of work in Florida the last 24 hours. Certainly once they discovered the sorting facility where some of these packages came through. And it was during that time they discovered what they believed could be a person of interest, a person who could be responsible, and they worked off of that. We know that there is forensic evidence linking him, or at least they believe, or we don't know if it's to him or her, I should say.
Sorry, you weren't supposed to say him, you're supposed to say person of interest. So they had all this information before the FBI had said anything, before his name was known.
Know that there is forensic evidence.
Sorry.
Hey, do you remember last show? I played a clip that was, I think it was Fran, the spook girl.
Yeah, spook girl Fran, yeah.
Or it was either her or somebody else who said on the show, "Oh, they're going to catch this guy right away."
Well, we had an argument. I said no way, and you said you think they're going to get him right away, and then I said it'll probably be some MAGA Trump moron.
Well, we knew that was going to be the case, but I noticed this. The reason I had that clip is because they're going to. I thought it was peculiar. Because I've never heard this before, that they're going to get him right away. And I have a backup clip on that, which makes me wonder. I think you might be onto something here where this guy was. They knew this guy right before he did anything. It was like it was part of a scheme or who knows what.
Well, let's finish this one out. Then I want to see what we can revisit with you.
Linking him, or at least they believe, or we don't know if it's to him or her.
So this forensic, the forensic evidence, he already knew there was forensic evidence linking him, her.
I should say there is forensic evidence that is linking this person. There may be images that links this person. So they were working with a lot of information.
Images that show him at Trump rallies. We got images.
And let's just say, and I'll just tell you, in general, what happens in these kinds of cases, when the FBI has someone that they believe may be suspected in a crime, they do surveillance. They sit on a person. They conduct surveillance. We know that there was surveillance. There was ongoing surveillance.
Really? Wow. CNN knew the surveillance. They were closing in on him. The media knew
of a person. Again, we don't yet exactly know where this person was arrested, but this is all sort of started in the last 24 hours, and it's probably going to be several things. But I suspect there's going to be forensic evidence that ultimately link this person. And also, I think they were just waiting to have probable cause to go ahead and make this arrest.
Okay. Now, I have to go to the affidavit. This is one of my favorite things to do, especially in a 6-week cycle situation. And I'll just reiterate for people who don't know what that is. We discovered a long time ago. It had stopped for several years. We were briefed by an insider that the FBI, and this is before the election, the FBI needs to keep its budget, show its relevance, and every 6 weeks they would find some patsy who they literally would describe in the affidavit, in official documents, how they gave him a phony detonator. Guys were working with him to try and get him to buy some phony baloney bombs. Oh, we'll rent the van for you. And then when the guy goes to push the button, then they swoop in like, oh, we got another homegrown terrorist. And that's the 6-week cycle. So,
and I want to mention a couple other things. If you listen carefully to all these reports, there is a discussion that's underlying this about homegrown terrorism and how we don't have any specific laws about domestic terrorism, and you have to kind of jiggle the handle to get these guys to put away the way they should be put away. They're trying to pass a law. It's just like the way they go with gun control. Mm-hmm. They want to pass a domestic terrorism law, and I want people to keep an eye out for that because you're going to see it.
So I'm very used to reading this kind of stuff in an affidavit, and the one so far I've only seen one from the FBI's Joint Terrorism Task Force. It's always like I, special agent, this is what I witnessed and what I saw, and this whole thing is like a press release. And there's some things in here that I've never seen in one of these affidavits before. So they have the counts. That's what it starts. Count 1, interstate transportation of an explosive, which, then there's the legal definition of that. Count 2, illegal mailing of an explosive. Count 3, threats against former presidents and certain other persons, which doesn't explain actually what he did, but it gives you kind of the definition of each one, as you can understand. And count 4, threatening interstate communications, assaulting federal officers. This is count 5, in or about October. There's also no specific date. It's all just in or about October. So I don't know why they didn't mention the date specifically, but there's no...
They had the thing pre-written and they didn't...
Sounds a bit like it. In the Southern District of New York...
By the way, did they say presidents with it plural? Do you have it there?
Former presidents and certain other persons.
Former presidents.
Yes, presidents.
I got to make a note of that because I have a point to make about that.
All right. Assaulting federal officers. Now, I'm a special agent with the FBI, member of FBI's New York-based joint JTTF. I've been personally involved in the investigation of this matter. This affidavit is based on part on my conversations with law enforcement agents, other people, and my examination of reports and records. Because this affidavit is being submitted for the limited purpose of establishing probable cause, which is exactly what we heard CNN say before this thing was out, or before the public had it. It does not include all of the facts, the content that I have learned during the course of my investigation, where the contents of documents and action statements and conversations of others are reported herein. There, blah, blah, blah. Okay. And then he gives a little overview. And what's interesting is really this press release type level of writing. During the course of October 2018, as further detailed, Cesar Aliteri Sayak, the defendant, mailed approximately 13 IEDs through U.S. mail to certain current and former U.S. government officials, politicians, and others, including mailings across state lines. The intended targets of the defendant's IEDs, interesting, defendant's IEDs, are they defendants? I didn't even catch that the first time.
No, he meant that's a possessive.
Oh, the defendant's IEDs, yes. Included former President Barack Obama, former Vice President Joseph Biden, former Secretary of State, former Senator, former First Lady, and 2016 presidential candidate Hillary Clinton. I mean, what? Is that normal? I've never seen this done in an affidavit. So, former Vice President...
Well, they put her whole bio in there.
Yes, former Secretary of State, former Senator, former First Lady, and 2016 presidential candidate Hillary Clinton.
That's not right.
Well, it gets better. Former Attorney General Eric Holder, Congressperson Maxine Waters, Senator Cory Booker, former Director of the Central Intelligence Agency John Brennan, former Director of National Intelligence James Clapper, philanthropist and billionaire George Soros. This is not typical that they put this descriptor in there. And actor and director Robert De Niro. Yeah, this is and this comes back multiple times. And then so this thing, maybe just to pad it, the next paragraph is, I'm sorry, as discussed below, based on initial analysis from the FBI laboratory in Quantico, Virginia.
They say Academy Award-winning actor.
They missed it. They should have said that.
I don't know, maybe never
it may actually be in there. As discussed below, based on initial analysis from the FBI laboratory in Quantico, Virginia, a latent fingerprint, which means it was not something you see immediately, you dust it, it's an oily residue, was detected on one of the envelopes containing an IED that was sent to Congressperson Waters, and this fingerprint was identified to Cesar Aliteri Sayak, the defendant. In addition, there's a possible DNA association between a sample collected from a piece of the IED inside two of the envelopes containing IEDs and a sample previously collected from Sayak. And he does say, based on my conversations with other law enforcement officers and my training and experience, I understand that energetic material to include explosive material. Oh, shoot, that's not the one I wanted. Anyway, he says something like, this until the lab says it's a 100% match, it's just circumstantial evidence, but enough for probable cause. Now we go to the and this is the bulk of this affidavit is who received a bomb. And if you look at the descriptions, let's see, we have the Obama package, nothing special there, but then Joseph Biden served as Vice President of the United States from 2009 to 2017 under President Obama. From approximately 1973 to 2009, Vice President Biden was a member of the U.S. Senate. Former Vice President Biden resides at an address in Wilmington, Delaware. I mean, why? I've never seen this. And for everyone, Maxine Waters served as members of the U.S. House of Representatives, and it's a bio on everybody. Very, very odd. So there is nothing in here other than some bios, and we have a fingerprint, and the rest is just more bios of people, and a little bit about the package, not even really the contents other than, it had some incendiary stuff in it. And that's it. But at the end of this affidavit, hello, media, based on my review of publicly available information on Twitter, I know that there's an account with username Cesar Aliteri that contains the following. Among other things, A, various posts with misspellings consistent with the packages, including Hillary Hillary with one L rather than Hillary with two L's, Schultz with a T, missing the C in Schultz. And then again, pointing out this Twitter account to the guy's Twitter, which was up for the whole day. Usually it's taken down immediately. People were on it right away. We got all these pictures of him at MAGA rallies. And it's like, this was a press release. This was not an affidavit as I've learned to see it from the FBI. And it's just pointing to the Twitter account, which clearly shows the guy was a Trump fan. If it's the same guy, whatever, who knows?
In fact, you could probably find if it was photoshopped even.
But CNN, of course, CNN had all the scoops because CNN sucks. They were on top of it. They were the ones that had the inside information the night before. They already knew all of this was happening. Very interesting. So they have Cesar's boss. Now, this is one of the most unbelievable stories you will ever hear. So apparently he worked at a restaurant. Had you heard this yet?
I'm all ears. I've heard a lot, but I haven't heard about his restaurant.
He worked at a restaurant, but not in the restaurant. He was a deliverer, so he delivered food in his van, in the crazy MAGA van, and his lesbian boss is on CNN, and this is one of the most, and again with Casey, one of the most unbelievable interviews I've heard in a circumstance like this.
I was shocked. I couldn't believe it. My hair stood up. I knew he had issues. He really was not. He definitely beat to the beat of his own drum. He was anti-gay, anti-black, anti-Jewish. You name it. Everybody that really wasn't white and wasn't a white supremacist didn't belong in the world. That's what he used to say to me all the time. But I really was shell-shocked when I found out it was him. I really couldn't believe it.
Just that alone. He hated gays, blacks, Jews, and I was so surprised something happened.
Because as far as an employee, he was on time, he was cordial, he was articulate. I never had any problems with him. There was no theft. My customers liked him. But it was just his political views that scared me. Basically, he was a model employee. That's what I can't understand. I'm sitting here saying to myself, what happened?
So she keeps saying a model employee, even though he hated Jews, blacks, anti-gay, and now she's going to come out and say that she's lesbian, but still, he was a good guy.
Deborah, it almost sounds like two different people. I mean, you're talking about an employee who shows up on time, who was, as you said, cordial, but he had issues. I mean, and when you talk about the things that he's spouting, clearly he had issues. Was he violent?
Not at all. There was no violence at all. I mean, he made it a point. He knew I was a lesbian and a very proud lesbian, and he made it a point to tell.
By the way, I didn't catch that. These clips are pretty new for me too. She says here, I was a lesbian and a very proud lesbian. That's very strange for someone who's gay to say it that way.
I was a lesbian and a very proud lesbian, and he made it a point to tell me that.
Yes, hold on a second.
I've never heard any of my gay friends say that.
You would say it if it was scripted.
You think?
Point. He knew I was a lesbian and a very proud lesbian, and
so it's like, I look at the script and I say, oh yeah, my characters are lesbian. Yes, okay, very proud lesbian. That's what I was. Yes, I know my character. You're right. I mean, I hate to do this because it's such a tragic just events all around us right now, but come on.
A very proud lesbian, and he made it a point to tell me that, God had made a mistake with me and that I should burn in hell.
But yet a great friend, great fellow worker.
Great employee.
Burn in hell, bitch.
And along with my other black friends.
Straight to your face.
Absolutely. But my mother brought me up to always, believe the best in people, and turn the other cheek. And I've had people not like me because I've been gay. And to me, I didn't have to go home with him. He was not a friend of mine. I just hired him. He did his job, and that's how I looked at it. But as far as an employee goes, he really was wonderful. I wish I had more like him as far as that aspect goes.
Okay, so now let's talk about the van. Now remember, he wants all lesbians to burn in hell. God made her wrong, burn in hell. But, he's a good guy otherwise. It's fine. But the van, did he live in the van? The guy lived in the van? What was in the van?
I want to stop you before. I want you to go there, but I got to read something from the Toronto Star, which had a long article on this guy because of this notion that he was a white nationalist. Not white nationalist, but a white supremacist.
Oh, yeah.
Which is different than white nationalist.
No.
Which is different than nationalist. I just want to get that out of the way. In recent months, Sayak's behavior changed. His posts took on a darker, more obsessive tone. He used to post about food and stuff.
Who's saying this, though? Who's saying
this? Is the Toronto Star.
Yeah, but who's being quoted?
This is not a quote. This is the article.
Oh. Right.
This is actually from the New York Times. Okay, never mind. Not Toronto Star.
New York Times.
Kevin Roos, the New York Times. Okay.
Uh-huh. Even better.
So, yeah. What am I thinking? I should have looked at that right away. Yeah, New York Times, their outlet. His post took on a darker, more obsessive tone, often accompanied by threats of violence or gory images of bloody animal carcasses. No longer mistakable as an everyday internet partisan, he posted repeatedly. So here's where they start to screw up their stories because they can't keep it straight. He used to post repeatedly about the unconquered Seminoles, of reference to the tribe that he appears to have adopted. It also appeared on his van and on Twitter. Now, how are you a white supremacist and you have adopted the Seminoles, an Indian tribe, as you're supposed to, now you're an Indian.
Maybe he just identified as a white supremacist. That's valid.
And a Seminole?
Yeah, I know, John. It gets worse. It gets much. Let's get to a couple things. Yeah, one, we know that he was apparently living in the van. We don't know exactly what was in the van. Now we know that he hated Jews, lesbians, gays, blacks, everything, white supremacist.
He was a great worker.
But he was a very, very, very good worker. And he also had a criminal record. We were told this immediately, correct? He had a criminal record. The law enforcement knew about it.
I don't know how accurate this is because it's hard to, because it's been suppressed. But in the newsletter, there was a post from, if you're a subscriber to one of those, what's the background check? One of those background check sites.
Yes.
The guy shows up as living in Minnesota, and he's a petty criminal drug dealer.
It doesn't matter. For me, one thing is important for this next clip. He had a record. I think we can safely say he had a record. Maybe petty crime, maybe for threatening bombs. It's all very unclear. We're not exactly sure. That's how it goes. But now let's go back to his boss, who was a lesbian and a proud one, and the van.
The van was frightening.
I wanted to ask you about the van because there has been so much attention on his van today. Did he bring that very same van with those very same stickers to work?
Absolutely, he did, and that's why I hired him to drive at night. I couldn't have him driving in the daytime. I had him driving at night. He parked the van around the corner. I never got any complaints from any of the customers. If I did, he would have been fired. I can't, and this is what people seem not to understand. I can't fire somebody because of their political views.
Hold on a second. First of all, in Florida, yes, you can. At will, as far as I know, in Florida. So, of course, you can fire somebody for anything. And I think his political view is a little different than saying all lesbians should burn in hell. But okay, it's interpretation.
Whether they don't like me or they don't like a black person or a gay person, I can't do that. I can't. As much as I'd like to, I couldn't.
Yeah.
Stop.
Yeah.
Just because it's passing through my brain as I'm listening to this the first time. And I'm going to stick with the scripted concept.
Yep.
This is scripted from a California source.
Because?
Because of what you just said. You can't fire people like that in California.
Oh, of course. It's a social justice warrior. Yes. Just because you don't like gays.
So in California, where this was scripted, I'm just guessing.
Yes.
All those elements that you just decried as BS in Florida aren't BS in California.
Fact check false.
Yeah. That's right, California. Okay. Well, I like it. And keep the script in mind. Remember the van, scary van, everything, criminal record.
They don't like a black person or a gay person. I can't do that. I can't. As much as I'd like to, I couldn't. But his van was freaky scary.
Freaky scary.
I actually was talking to my brother a few minutes ago, and I was telling him he was driving me home one night because it was raining. And when I got in the van, I just remember looking, is there any way I can get out? Because I said he really appreciated me as a general manager, liked me, but hated me as being a lesbian.
Okay, so let's just review as we continue to go through. She has him as an employee. I think she's a general manager, doesn't own the place, but she can fire him. Or maybe the boss, her boss said don't fire him. We don't know that. He was hired to deliver food in his van, which was freaky scary. Now, if you're going to have someone delivering food from your restaurant, you might consider the sanitary conditions of the van.
So I always wanted to make sure, if he ever offered me a ride, that I could find a way out of that van.
Deborah, that's actually what I wanted to ask you, that you've been inside that van. Can you describe what you saw inside?
The van had a lot of McDonald's, Taco Bell boxes, a lot of laundry. Hygienically, it was filthy.
And that's why you let your food be delivered in that van?
It was dirty. It was smelly. There was beer bottles in there, vodka bottles in there. But he always dressed impeccably. He always had on nice cologne. He always looked great. If he was delivering my food to me, I'd say, hey, come on in.
Now get ready for Casey to lead the witness.
He always played the part very well.
You hear what she said?
Played the part.
Very well. He always played the part very well. And this is not because she's saying he was an actor necessarily, but the truth always wants to come out. You know, and she said, he always played the part. It was perfect.
He was delivering my food to me. I'd say, hey, come on in. He always played the part very well. And maybe that's just it. He played the part real well.
Was it your understanding he was living in the van at the time when he worked with you?
No. He told me that his family...
Hold on. Everyone told me he was living in the van. Is this your understanding?
I had not I don't have a solid on where he was living, because I also heard that he was living with his mother.
Yeah, let's see. There's more on this.
And at the time when he worked with you?
No. He told me that his family, they were from the Seminole tribe, and he had a home on the reservation here, and he also had a home in Plantation, and he was very proud that he just got accepted into driving like a hazmat trucker.
Okay, stop. Now the bullshit is too thick. I don't know much. I'm just a disc jockey. You cannot be certified as a hazmat trucker with a record. We have a lot of truckers in our audience. So I want them to correct me if I'm wrong. He was very proud.
Let's stop there and reanalyze what she said. She said, he said. It doesn't mean that any of it was true. He may just be one of these guys who likes to bullshit about himself.
It's true. The reason why I bring it up is because, George Webb, he's kind of like this intelligence guy. He really started with Seth Rich, and he does these short, like 5 to 6 minute YouTube videos.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've seen him.
I have.
So he had a very interesting theory, which I just wanted to highlight in this regard. And his theory is that the U.S., in particular CIA, is still running weapons for drugs, and that the Seminole and the best way to whitewash money, which kind of is an odd way, takes us somewhere else, is through gambling. Gambling is the way you launder money. Because you just spend it in the casino, and you lose some, so you're going to maybe
you break even,
or you break even. Which, by the way, is exactly who does that sound like when you think about it? If you're an arms dealer and you're in the casino with a lot of money, You know, okay, so that would be the Vegas shooter. Anyway,
Paddock.
So in 2014, Paddock, exactly. In 2014, Florida gave the gaming license, all the gaming licenses to the Seminole Indians. And which Trump also he tweeted about that back in 2014. Of course, he was interested in that, maybe for his own money laundering operation. I don't know. But what George Webb asserts is that he thinks that the Seminole community there, with the casinos, is a laundering operation for CIA money for guns. And what they do is they get a whole bunch of ex-cons and criminals, and they kind of, co-opt them. And these guys, they're patsies. They'll do whatever they want because at least they're not in jail and they're usually not very intelligent. And Webb's assertion is that he thinks this guy was planted to do this, and that he's being held up as a patsy. So the whole Seminole thing is very interesting.
Yeah, especially as a supposed white supremacist. Now,
I have a couple more, like 26 seconds left.
I'm just going to say back to the script,
mm-hmm.
which sounds more and more like, to confuse things, this woman, I'd like to look into her a little bit, but we don't have time.
No. It's Deborah Guregian, Gureghian. I want to get to the witness part, but first a little bit more about what she didn't mention before. Now, what was in the van?
Dirty laundry, a bunch of bottles of vodka and beer, and it was a mess.
Now, if there was something really spooky and obvious, would you have forgotten to mention that, or would you have mentioned it first? If there was something really freaky,
like a Gatling gun, let's say.
A home on the reservation here, and he also had a home in Plantation, and he was very proud that he just got accepted into driving like a hazmat trucker, going to the different ports with biochemicals.
Sure.
And he was going to school in North Carolina, and he was very proud of that.
I saw in the Washington Post you told their reporter that inside the van there were puppets with their heads cut off and mannequins with their heads cut off.
Puppets with mannequins and puppets and nooses, but that was on his van also. There was Ku Klux Klan, there was Nazi symbols.
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention that. The first thing I thought of was the nasty Taco Bell and McDonald's packaging. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention the nooses and the headless mannequins. Sorry. Okay.
So great B actress.
But you hear Casey from CNN. She basically said, hey, you're forgetting the part about the nooses. It was in the Washington Post. Could you please mention that? Oh, yeah, that's right, Nazi. Yeah, KKK, had nooses.
Yeah, and by the way, you'll be a KKK guy, and with all that stuff all over your van, going in and out of the Seminole Reservation, I'm sure is very, everyone's amenable to that, sure.
Last clip.
Did he openly talk proudly about, did he call himself a white supremacist? Did he openly talk about it?
See, this is leading the witness. Now Casey's job here, in the last minute, is to tie the guy to Trump. That's her job, and she will try hard.
Did he openly talk proudly about, did he call himself a white supremacist? Did he openly talk about it?
Yes, he called himself a white supremacist, and he called himself a Nazi supporter. And
did he talk about
Hitler.
I mean, if you look at his van.
He loved Hitler. He's just grabbing for straws here.
You see stickers of President Trump, Vice President Pence. Did he talk about the president?
He talked about Obama and Hillary Clinton, that he detested them.
Oh, wait a minute. Wrong answer.
And that I would be on that island that he blew up with them.
Model employee.
So those two, the only two. And CNN.
Oh, and I forgot CNN. Oh, geez, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And as a matter of fact, Rachel Maddow, I love Rachel Maddow, and we talked about her, and she was one of the other lesbians that was going to go on the island with me.
Well, now I'm starting to like the guy.
Did you talk about where he got this from? I mean, does he talk about, because he's seen it, he was seen during, 2016, and he's been at rallies. He's posted about being at rallies for the president. Did he talk about where his burning hate of CNN came from?
Was there any chance? But, could it possibly be that maybe his burning hate, this vile hate he had inside of him for CNN, came from somewhere?
Or of anyone else?
No, he just said that the people that he labeled were very weak. and that he wanted to purify society. So in order to do that, he would have to get rid of the gays and the lesbians and the transgenders and the blacks and the Jews and whoever else didn't follow his suit, whoever else didn't follow his policy and political views.
But otherwise, a great employee. They can't fire that guy. No, just because me and Rachel are going to burn on the island of lesbians along with Obama and Hillary. Great guy. I overlook nooses. It's okay. Headless mannequins. I was more concerned with the sanitary condition. So I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay. You can take yourself a clip of the day while you're at it.
No, thank you.
But clip of this idiotic.
It's so good. Now I'd be a little more hesitant if, bombs had gone off and people had been blown up, but no. And the bombs were made of PVC pipe. I'm not going to discredit what you can do with a PVC pipe. We've all fooled around with fertilizer as kids. We used to make flash paper. Remember flash paper?
Yeah.
You dip it in the solution, you dry it, and then you light it. So, you put a little bit in the PVC pipe, and you tie the ends down, and you get it to... You get something to go bang, and
you need a blasting cap or something. There's no evidence of those.
No.
The whole thing, and you keep hearing about the different elements of firecracker dust and black powder you hear, and sulfur is another one you've heard of. These bombs are no good. They weren't hoax devices. Because they existed. There it is. I see it. Look at there's a pipe and there's a wire coming out of it.
Yeah, exactly.
But I want to play a couple of clips which kind of were bugging. What was bugging me is something I heard on the BBC. But first, I'm going to play. Well, before we go there, let's get my CNN clip out of the way, which is says Sat Talk on CNN Tapper. This is I found to be a funny clip. This was a little more. This was later in the cycle, so a little more was known.
And we're back with the breaking news. You're looking at new video showing the suspect, Cesar Sayoc, holding a sign that says CNN sucks, as well as a lot of other nonsense in there. He's at a Trump rally in February 2017. The 56-year-old Florida resident, and today was arrested and charged with sending a series of explosive devices, 13 IEDs, to prominent critics of President Trump this week. Sayoc was well known to law enforcement in Florida and has been arrested at least 8 times. CNN's Renee Marsh has been digging into his background. And Renee, his Twitter account is filled with attacks on a lot of the same people he sent the packages to, including CNN.
Exactly. I mean, extremely political social media account. And to your point, Jake, he has negative tweets pretty much for every target that was sent one of those packages. We do want.
Yeah, I just want to say, what's going to happen now. I just want to point this out. And actually, I see you have a Gab clip, so I wouldn't mind hearing that later. What's going to happen is you're going to be clamped down on so fast for every little misstep you make. You're going to be kicked. You're going to be purged from every single social network. It's going to go into overdrive now.
I warn you, some of these tweets are highly offensive, but we are showing them simply because we want to give you a sense of what we're learning about the suspect. So here are some of his tweets. He goes after former President Obama, posting a meme with Obama's head on his wife's body, a meme of Hillary Clinton being arrested by the president and the vice president.
I swear to God. Stuff we say on this show could get us arrested thanks to this guy. I'm not kidding. Yeah. And even if we just say
his head on his wife's body, a meme of Hillary Clinton being arrested by the president and the vice president with the caption "Law and Order" that you see there in the middle. He even accuses Democratic fundraiser George Soros of working with Hitler. I mean, it goes on and on. But again, CNN is tweeted as well.
Wait, what was that? Let me hear that again.
Uses Democratic fundraiser George Soros of working with Hitler. I mean, it goes on and on. But
they should maybe listen to Soros himself about what he did.
Again, CNN is tweeted as well. When you go through, you can see he certainly does have a political leaning. The criminal complaint even points out his use of social media. And just a couple of days after that suspicious package was discovered and recovered from George Soros's house, he was also tweeting negative tweets about Soros, Obama, and others.
The more I think about it, now that we've put the press release, the criminal complaint, the affidavit, now that we've put that next to these CNN clips, I think it's very obvious this is meant for more reasons to purge political speech on social networks. Just, if you say any of these, this guy kind of ran the gamut.
Yeah.
Right. From Michelle Obama as a tranny to George Soros, he worked for Hitler. Now, he's not very nuanced in what he's saying, but all of these things will now be verboten to even consider posting anywhere. I'm not saying you should, but this is a curtailment of free speech. It seems almost like a Kristallnacht in a way of free speech of the social networks.
Well, I wouldn't go that far, but I think it's the beginning of the end. Is that whole clip?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I thought it was funnier than that. Let's go to this clip. Mark Warner, and this refers back to the presidents in plural. Mark Warner was on the morning show to talk about security for the election.
And who is Mark Warner? Who is he?
Mark Warner's the guy who's on the Senate Intelligence Committee. He's a senator from Virginia.
Oh, yes, I know.
Used to be the governor. He's got the big teeth.
Yep.
He's a lizard, I believe.
He's a reptile.
I think so.
Okay.
And he's just this
doesn't sweat much.
And he's on there, and they're asking him about one thing, and he decides, nah, I'm not going to talk about that. Actually, I don't have the whole long clip because it eventually got that one woman irked on this is a CBS morning show with John Dickerson. Nora actually started getting testy because he wouldn't address the issues, and he went off like this. But I want you to listen to this carefully.
He is the vice chair of the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence. Senator, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. We've learned that the U.S. Cyber Command just recently launched an operation to combat Russian interference in our elections and this spreading of misinformation that they're involved in. How effective do you think that operation will be?
Well, Nora, I want to get to election security, but I want to first express some level of relief at this point that so far this act of terror, these bombs being sent around the country, have not caused any harm, personal harm yet. I've been very concerned about the president's tone, not being willing to call out and call up, for that matter, the two former presidents who were going to be victims of this kind of attack. And one of the things about this president is I don't think...
Wait a minute. Let me just hear that again.
...to be victims of this call out and call up, for that matter, the two former presidents who were going to be victims of this kind of attack.
What is he saying?
I've been very concerned about the president's tone, not being willing to call out and call up, for that matter, the two former presidents who were going to be victims of this kind of attack. And one of the things about this president is I don't think he understands that words matter. I mean, I was governor of Virginia when we had these sniper incidents years ago, and how leaders respond in these moments of crisis.
Okay, you can kill him. He's just bitching about Trump.
All right.
Let's go back to his comment about the two presidents.
Yes.
Which two presidents?
Well, what I think he's presuming is that because a letter was sent to Hillary Clinton at the house where she apparently lives with Bill, that would be the threat.
No, here's what the reason I highlight this is because of the president's plural.
Yes.
Hillary's not a president. The letter wasn't addressed to Bill. There's an assumption she is the president, but she's not. Is that because in the affidavit, it says presidents plural.
Yes.
He specifically said two presidents. Bill Clinton was not one of the guys who got the package. And the reason I bring this up is because I don't have a clip, but I can assure you that while driving around from the store, I was listening to the BBC, and they specifically said there's going to be an indictment for threatening two presidents, specifically two former U.S. presidents. Now, so I have to say, because then when the Warner, and I didn't get that clip because it was on the radio in the car. And as soon as I heard Warner say two presidents, and then saw the plural in the other thing, I'm thinking
Bill was supposed to go.
Bill was supposed to be in it. Bill just said, no, I don't want to have anything to do with this scheme of yours. Leave me out of it. And he has enough power to tell him to leave him out of it.
Now, hold on a second. Let me just go ahead. Keep going. I'm looking at something.
So there was no two presidents that were threatened. And the BBC and obviously Warner and all these other people, including the probably a few others, I'm sure, out there that said two presidents. This was the original scheme. That's why it was in plural in the affidavit. And that part of it was just kind of like, oh, we only have one president, but everybody else was told two, even though the second guy, Bill, wasn't going to go along with the program. And obviously George Bush wouldn't fit in because he's a Republican and they're not going to do HW. So those are Jimmy Carter is possible, but he was not even in the country. So this seems to me, again, part of a bigger script that's been put together by
here's count three. And let me read it again. Threats against former presidents and certain other persons. This is from the affidavit. In or about October 2018, maybe there was a little blank. They were supposed to put that in, search and replace, but they didn't. In the Southern District of New York and elsewhere, Cesar Altieri Sayoc, the defendant, knowingly and willfully threatened to kill and inflict bodily harm upon a former president and a member of the immediate family of a former president. To wit, Sayoc mailed an IED to former First Lady Hillary Clinton, who resides with her husband, former President William Jefferson Clinton. But the title still says threats against former presidents, plural.
Yeah, they didn't get that one fixed.
Mm-hmm.
This was a botch of some sort.
Yeah.
And Warner very clearly says two presidents, and he doesn't have the disclaimer. She was living with him like that's sure. And the BBC with the two threats against two presidents, not a president and his wife. And somebody else. No, a president and a president's wife.
Yes.
And again, if this is scripted in California, they still think Hillary's president, so it was fine. It made nothing but sense.
Yeah. Well,
not my president.
Right.
I just found that to be peculiar in light of the other scripted,
I can't argue anything
crazy
against
stuff going on.
At the bottom,
the white supremacist who's a Seminole. I mean, that's a good one.
I'm just reading at the bottom of this affidavit. Based on my training and expertise, as well as my review of law enforcement databases, I believe that Sayoc is the user of Cesar Altieri Twitter account because Altieri is Sayoc's middle name and the location of Sayoc's last known residence in Aventura, Florida is proximate to the two locations listed in the account information for the Cesar Altieri Twitter account. Now, a couple of things about this. One is, based on my training and experience as well as my review of law enforcement databases. So somewhere in the law enforcement database, he's just able to connect that to his residences. But again, promoting the Twitter account, because there were a number of them. There's also one Twitter account that looks like the guys from ISIS. Did you see that one?
Yeah, I saw that one.
But they're very clear about Cesar Altieri. That's the one you want to go after. No mention of the what's the club? The Hard Rock 2016, I think, or 26. That was another account that he was running. But they really pointed everybody towards. You're right. The people, and
maybe they could have gone a number of directions, and they just had these things at the ready.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, we're going to have to account for that. Let's push everyone in this direction. I do want to play my last clip, which is the Sayoc caught rapidly clip. This is the PBS NewsHour. They're starting off their discussion, and they make this point of emphasis, which still bothers me.
What more is known about the suspected pipe bomber and the state of the investigation with Mary McCord? She helped lead the Department of Justice National Security Division during the Obama administration. It focuses on terrorism and other significant national security threats. She's now a visiting professor of law at Georgetown University. And J.M. Berger, he has written extensively about political violence. His latest book, Extremism, was recently published by MIT Press. He's also a research fellow at Voxpol. That's a European Union academic initiative to study online extremism. And we welcome both of you to the program. Mary McCord, to you first. What's your reaction to what we know so far about this man, the suspect?
Well, It does seem like it was extremely good and fast work by the FBI and all the other state and local law enforcement that assisted. They certainly did get lucky by the fact that the suspect left a fingerprint on one of the packages and is somebody known to law enforcement for whom his fingerprint was in the database. So congratulations, of course, to all the incredible law enforcement for solving this so rapidly.
What is that wasn't the question.
No. Why bother answering when you can say that? So much better.
So she's going on and on about how quick they were to do this, and we already had it, figured out on Thursday when we had the clip. Oh, they're going to catch the guy right away. You watch. And
that's what you. By the way, I want to say I said no, and you said they were going to catch him right away.
Yes,
I was wrong. I was wrong.
Well, that's because
that's why there's two of us.
Well, that's because there's always that happens a lot. So no, the reason was because I thought when they said, because what I do, you do different things than I. One of the things I'm always looking for stuff that's out of place.
Mm-hmm.
And that clip from Thursday was out of place.
Yeah.
All of a sudden is one of the talking heads coming out talking about how they're going to catch him quickly. I think it's going to mean they're going to catch him quickly. That was like a signal that the game was on. They're going to catch him quickly. And then I hear this confirmation clip. I'm thinking, this is bull crap.
Yeah.
They're going to catch him quickly because he was caught before he even did it. Anyway.
Now, the question is, if this guy was set up, who set him up?
Oh, but let me stop because I just had another thought. I think this caught him quickly thing was just because this new FBI director.
Ray.
He says, I got to get some creds here,
I got to get me some.
Please compliment me for my good work. Go on.
Well, I have to say the first thing that crossed my mind is, this is a Wiedergutmacher. This is good for the FBI. They've done something good, which is why we thought, to the day, 6-week cycle, etc. But it could also be a continuation of CIA versus FBI. This seems like a CIA type job if this guy, is a patsy and they really set him up. And, go ahead, FBI, do your best. Try and figure it out. Especially if you think if you listen to George Webb's theory.
You didn't think they'd catch him quickly.
Yeah.
But let's take that FBI CIA battle and look at it again.
No. Let's before we do that, let's ask the most basic question. With the timing of this, with what happened, what we've seen, who the guy is being made out to be, namely a typical, not just a typical Trump supporter.
Yeah, bad guy.
Yeah. Who benefits from this? Now, if anyone thinks that more people will vote for the Democrats, I think that's a very silly thought.
Well, there's a couple of things.
Because there's really only one outfit that is picking this up to this degree.
CNN.
Yes. And
is
CNN
more in bed with the CIA or the FBI? This is praising the FBI, but that could be kind of counterintuitive. Let's make FBI look good while we get what we're trying to get done, which is to embarrass Trump because the CIA still hates him.
The one thing that sticks out above all, let's say there was a reason for this. Now, was the reason to make Trump look bad? Maybe. Was the reason to, tilt the midterm elections in the Republicans' favor and the Democrats' favor? Yeah, maybe. What I'm seeing from the affidavit, from everything that's being said, and I think, and this is where I want to, you have a clip here, which I'm very interested in. This is all about wiping people off of social network. That is how, if it was intended that way, I'm not sure, but that's what's going to be done with it. Anyone who says anything, you got a sticker on your car, it says CNN sucks, we're pulling you over. We're closing your social media accounts for you.
Well, this has been attempted before. If you remember back 5-6 years ago, there was a big brouhaha over the fact that in some states they were pulling people over who flew the American flag or supporting the Constitution, saying my Constitution and stuff, as white supremacists, which seems to be the never-ending theme here.
Yeah, yeah. Which is just ludicrous for this guy to claim himself to be a white supremacist. Just ludicrous.
Yeah,
it just makes no sense.
I don't believe he ever really did. I mean, unless he comes out and says so in his affidavit.
So immediate responses we've seen push against Facebag for this page that he had up. We've seen this is crazy that this can be allowed. Gab is shut down. What's this clip you have with Gab? CNN discusses Gab.com and the law.
Well, let's play it and find out.
And he wrote, and I'm not going to read it in its entirety because it's incredibly offensive. Trump is surrounded by, and then he says a slur.
Oh, this is the new guy. This is the Squirrel Hill shooter.
As long as Trump is surrounded by it, things will stay the course.
Yeah, this is
there
Squirrel
is no
Hill.
MAGA.
This Gab. That's what Gab was about. Squirrel Hill, not so much this other jerker.
Right.
Jerk off.
But it's perfect because first we got crazy stuff on the social network. Anyone who posts anything remotely like that will be algoed out. I guarantee you. And then we have this follow-up, which seems to, there appear to be real dead people. But the recourse is immediately to take things offline and just hide everything and get rid of anything.
And he wrote, and I'm not going to read it in its entirety because it's incredibly offensive. Trump is surrounded by, and then he says a slur. As long as Trump is surrounded by it, things will stay the course. There is no MAGA, making America great again, as long as there is a blank infestation. So you've dealt a lot with Gab and this type of speech in your professional life?
It's digital threat intelligence. It's looking beyond
digital threat intelligence.
Yeah, now this clip was sent to me by
the hell?
That says that this what you're describing, the transition, even though I do want to talk about FBI versus CIA.
Yeah.
But what you're describing as the go, let's wipe out this bull crap, because we saw that the Russians, with the $100,000 of an ad buy, they can swing the election.
Yeah.
We got to end this social media thing being so political, because it's not helping anybody.
You've dealt a lot with.
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry. Then this clip is four doofuses sitting there all in black suits with this new anchor. And they all go after social media, and they seem like a bunch of spooks, except for Stelter, who was there.
Who says he's not a spook? He's probably that one spook who was, bottom of the class.
Oh yeah, I guess
never get picked for dodgeball.
Yes, they have a few dumb spooks, don't they? Yes,
a few.
And he wrote, and I'm not going to read it in its entirety because it's incredibly offensive. Trump is surrounded by, and then he says a slur. As long as Trump is surrounded by it, things will stay the course. There is no MAGA, making America great again, as long as there is a blank infestation. So you've dealt a lot with Gab and this type of speech in your professional life?
It's digital threat intelligence. It's looking beyond the Twitters, the Facebooks, the Instagrams. It's starting to dive into threatening statements that are made in the deep and dark web, alt websites.
The deep and dark web, alt websites, not approved.
So when we start looking at this individual, we're going to be looking at, obviously, his statements on Gab, but beyond that, how many other things has he been posting on? Again, these are red flags, but they highlight a real challenge for law enforcement, is the availability to, take all of this information in, digest it, and then make a decision as to, do we go and look at this individual? Like, how do we... what is the threshold for law enforcement engagement? I mean, Twitter and Facebook and everything like that, they have standards.
Right.
When you start going into the domain that has no standards, that it's a free reign, behind paid firewalls.
This is fantastic. I can't believe you withheld this from me.
What is law enforcement's ability to get in there and start looking at early warning of anomalous behavior, some red flags? Every single time we've sat at this desk and we talk about, well, there was a posting here, there was a posting there. But how can law enforcement engage? And I think that's what we need to look at, is giving law enforcement the tools to look at everything.
Oh, my God. This is I'm going to give you a clip of the day just right now in the middle of it.
Clip of the day.
I cannot believe these people they're talking about free speech and how it should be suppressed and checked and monitored.
Listen, there's analytics around digital media every single day. I mean, Target can tell based upon my profile when I want to buy a blender, right? They should be able to come up with algorithms.
No, wrong, right, wrong. I get mad when I hear this. I'm getting emotional.
Target can tell based upon my profile when I want to buy a blender, right? They should be able to come up with algorithms across the board, become unified to start looking at this anomalous behavior to see what is an early warning sign for.
Okay, well, how about you start with Reddit?
Behavior that moves that has the potential to move along the continuum from just rhetoric to physical action.
And just for the record, Gab says, hey, we support law enforcement. We contacted the FBI today. That's what they say. But the existence of these sites where you can do anything, say anything, and
it's crazy.
Usually these guys will claim, oh, I don't mean it, I'm just playing around. But some of them are serious.
Brian Stelter, I condemn you. I put a curse on you. Horrible man. It's just condemning everything. If you're not a part of Silicon Valley, then you are suspect, bro. That's very suspicious. Seems like those guys are running some website on AWS. Oh, wait, they might have some special. They got their own network. They got their own IRC channel. It's very disturbing.
Red flag.
This is disturbing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, you might be right. That clip does fall into play. I didn't put it in there because I was going to back your theory up, but it backs your theory up quite nicely.
Now, you wanted to do CIA, FBI before we take a break?
Well, yeah, let's talk about this just for a minute, and then we'll take a break. Which is, if this is, if we're still, the CIA, FBI thing may have been. Maybe they're working together. Maybe do we know that they're still having this, come on.
They're
money? We know the NSA has been taken out of the picture because Mike Rogers, the guy who went to Trump's office and said, hey, your place is bugged.
Goodbye.
He's out.
He's out. Goodbye.
So he's, he's not out without a pension, but he's doing fine. Right. But the NSA is out of the picture in terms of helping Trump, it seems. And the CIA and the FBI, now that they got the new guys in there, and there's and the Mueller thing, spending a lot of money, they're having a lot of fun. I don't know that they're going at each other right now during the budgetary crisis, where they want to each get more money. So maybe they're working together. So maybe this was a joint operation, because it has joint operation written all over it by the virtue of these little blunders. Because when you have too many cooks, you don't get a good product. You got the two presidents anomaly. You've got this script, a scripted woman who's making no sense whatsoever. There's a lot of things like this. I don't know that these two operations are trying to. I think they may be teamed up.
You know what the problem is? Now everything you and I do outside of the norm, outside of the mainstream, which is pretty much everything we do, becomes something we have to think about.
Flag.
What?
Red flag.
Well, our Mastodon server is a big red flag. We have official big red flags from people who have blocked us for being a, quote, free speech zone and KKK Nazi quadroons. Please remember the quadroons part. So how long? How long that's a liability now? How long will it take before someone says, "Oh, what's going on over there?" Who knows? Who knows?
Well, we don't. It's no agenda, listeners. We're not a bunch of freaks.
But a freak these days, if someone on noagendasocial.com says, CNN sucks, bing, suspect. Suspect. How can you say
I think if somebody said CNN doesn't suck, that would be more suspect.
I'll kick him off the site. That's what happens then. And with that, I'd like to thank you for your courage to say in the morning to you, John C. The C stands for Cesar Dvorak.
In the morning to you, Mr. Adam Curry. In the morning to ships at sea, boots on the ground, feet in the air, subs in the water, and all the dames and knights out there.
Yes, and I alert the affiliates once again. We are late, so we're running long. Everybody running along for the segment at least. And in the morning to the troll room. Hey, trolls. I thought it was funny. I said, talking about IRC channels. And someone said, IRC is still a thing. Meanwhile, the troll room is an IRC channel, which is just.
And they said it in the troll room.
Troll room.
Hey, buddy, you're an idiot.
Exactly. But we love you. We love you. We love y'all showing up. It's very handy for the live show. We do it on Sundays and Thursday mornings. NoAgendaStream.com. You can listen along. You can troll us. We encourage all kinds of trolling. One-liners also appreciated. And also in the morning to Mark G. We had a lot of choices for our artwork, for our album artwork for the show 1080.
That was a tough one. It was a tough one.
What was our 11th anniversary, and there were some very funny ones, some really good ones. We tend, and the reasoning I'll give you, we tend on an anniversary show to kind of pick something that says anniversary, And in fact, the title was 11 Years. You think, wow, that's not very imaginative. We do it for one reason and one reason only. So we can find the episode. Hey, remember on the 11th anniversary show? It was like, yeah, where is that? So it gets indexed. It's very easy to find.
Yeah, no, we actually had the little debate.
We had that debate about it.
The title.
Yes, the title.
And I'm the one who promoted this title because exactly the reasons Adam said.
Yes.
Which is at some point, if we had any other title, even though it was in the art too, which is really
very rare, very rare.
It's rare. It does happen.
Yeah,
it's because of that exact. Yeah, if it was called something else, we'd never find it ever.
But there were tons of very funny pieces, which will be used. Some of them went to evergreens. They'll be used.
Yeah, there's one piece we won't tell you what it is, but there's a piece on there that is too good to ignore. In fact, we might use it today.
Well, go to noagendaartgenerator.com. And you can see all the artwork that's submitted, and you can submit your own. And we really like to promote the artists who do this. Now, a reminder that there's another outfit called noagendashop.com, and these guys, just part of our value network. I've never met them. I've bought T-shirts from them, and they do a deal with any artist. They take some art, and they put it on a T-shirt or a mug, and they split the revenue 33%, three ways, a third for the show, a third for the artist, and a third for them. No idea how they make it work, but we love it. And their Space Force T-shirts are very funny.
Space Force.
Very good. NoAgendaArtGenerator.com. Thank you again, Mark G. and everyone who participates in the graphical portion of the Value Network. And we have
Space Force
people to thank who supported us.
Well, we had a big fall off.
No, that was kind of to be expected. I mean,
no, I don't think so.
Oh.
My experience has been when you have a show with a lot of support, it carries over. It kind of just dribbles over until the next show. Not a lot, but enough that you notice it. In this case, no. It's like everybody did their thing on that 11th anniversary, and they said, okay, these guys, screw them. No support for the show at all. We did get 4 people, though, that came in as associate executive producers. We didn't even have one executive producer.
Oh, that means someone goes to the top.
2 people, because they both came with the same amount. I'll tell you who they are.
Wow, nice.
One of them is Roderick Prince, who came with $222.22, and he wants a 2X stroke recovery karma.
Oh, okay. Well, I think I should, in that case, let me give you a, that's a tough one, man. Let me give you a double shot. Oops, here we go.
You've got karma. You've got karma.
That's the recovery part. All right, Roderick. Hope you do much better. Thank you.
And for the same exact amount, $222.22, Sir Andrew, Protector of the Bound Book, comes in with that amount, and he writes in Sir Andrew here, the best podcast in the universe has been a constant co-pilot while driving my Midwest book-selling territory for all 11 years.
Nice.
He's a bookseller.
Yeah.
I'm requesting, so he works for a distribution, some big publisher or distribution company.
Cool.
You could tell us who. I'm requesting a big dose of health karma for my wonderful daughter, Boo. Thanks.
Bet. Yeah, so this is the double 11111.
Yeah.
So he's doing it for himself and for his daughter. Of course, we want her to be very healthy. Here is extra health karma.
You've got karma.
Big dose. All right, Boo. Get better, Boo.
So Sir JD, the Baron of Silicon Valley, who was at the meetup, $211.11. He'll become our associate executive producer. Congratulations to you both and all the producers that helped make the No Agenda show the best podcast in the universe. I'm making this donation during the 11th year anniversary show spectacular, so I guess it will show up on the following Sunday's show.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Here's a couple of hundos for a couple of great guys that make a big difference in many people's lives and some 1111 magic numbers to help celebrate the milestone. I'd like to request some old school Pelosi, jobs, 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 little girl, yay, and karma for the peerage and anyone else out there that needs it. You don't have to read this part, but okay. I'll take care of that.
Sir JD, Baron of Silicon Valley, thank you very much. And of course, we've got that for you.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs. Yay!
You've got karma.
And last, our last associate executive producer is Cheryl Waldick in Brantford, Ontario, a Canadian, $201.33. Thank you so much for your podcast. Today I'm celebrating 12 years married to my cantankerous but sexy husband, Sonny. I couldn't have done it without you two keeping him sane.
There you go. We keep families together.
And please send him some jobs karma. He's been traveling all year and working his ass off for me in the spawns. He's on the road right now. Can you throw in a kiss my ring so he'll want to leave his family secret and come back home?
Kiss
his
my
secret
ring?
family. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
You blew the joke.
I blew the joke.
We don't have a kiss my ring clip, though.
Also, please hit him with a de-douching. You can do that.
Yeah, of course we can. Hold on.
You've been de-douched.
So I can put up with him for another 12 years. Thank you for all you do. Kiss my ring. Kiss my ring.
I'm not familiar with Kiss My Ring. Doesn't sound like something I remember.
It has some familiar ring to
well,
it.
yes. I mean, it's what we normally have to do to you, but I don't think we have a jingle or anything.
Well, why don't you give them some
jobs karma? Yeah, some jobs karma.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
All right, so that concludes our executive and associate executive producer segment, the people that get to put it on their resume. I want to thank them for helping us out on show 1081 as we approach show 1100.
So we'll have two executive producers, Roderick and Sir Andrew, and then we have our associate executive producer, so 2 and 2. And thank you very much. This is what really keeps every single show going. Not to discount the people who come in $50 and above. We have a list to talk about there and some 11th anniversary congratulations as well. But here in the, just like in Hollywood, in the first segment, we like to thank people who are executive, associate, executive producers. These are real credits. You can use them anywhere credits are recognized. People have gotten jobs from them. If you have a LinkedIn, put it on your LinkedIn. Executive producer of the No Agenda Show 1081. If anyone complains, we'll gladly vouch for you and help you out. And thank you again. Another show coming up on Sunday. Sunday? What is today? No, Thursday. It's always on a Thursday. Remember us at
Dvorak.org/NA.
Oh, yeah, now you know that it's actually Sunday. Go out there. Tell everybody about our formula.
Sunday.
Our formula is this. We go out, we hit people in the mouth.
Order!
Shut up, slave.
Shut up, slave. Yeah, I got a real shut up, slave moment. And this is actually something that harkens back to the beginnings of this show. And I thought it was very interesting. This show started in 2007. And at the time I was living in, I think it was Guildford, right south of London. And a number of things happened to me, which, from my part, led to the No Agenda Show. Because really, in the beginning, we were just talking, and I'd read to you from what was in the newspapers and look at kind of weird things. But also, this was the moment of the Lisbon Treaty, and there were two things that I had read that really changed a lot of my thinking at the time. One was The Legacy of Ashes, fantastic book about the CIA by Tim Weiner, who went on to write the FBI book, and he got compromised somewhere along the line. But the CIA book, Legacy of Ashes, is a fantastic book, and my Uncle Don is in it several times, and I remember calling him up and saying, Don, I just read this book. Have you read it? He said, yeah. I said, is it true? He said, yeah, it's pretty much how I remember most of it. I'm like, wow. So it was mind-boggling. I mean, right down to fluoridating enemy camp water so that they could get them all nice and docile to go and capture the camp. It was amazing stuff in this book. But also the Lisbon Treaty. And it wasn't so much the Lisbon Treaty is what would ultimately become, after they did a do-over, because they didn't have enough votes, and then, let's do that again. France, Holland, you guys aren't doing it right. Ireland, no, let's just vote over. Okay, good, we got it, which is why we're always so sure there will be a do-over of Brexit. And this is the Constitution of the European Union, which was being sold at the time as, this is going to be great. You won't need any passport to get to other countries, and we'll all have the same money. And that was also a bit of my awakening as to how fractional banking works, and Federal Reserve and the European Central Bank was another part of this great Lisbon Treaty. But the main thing that was interesting to me, if you recall, John, we were reading the protocols. Now, the protocols are not in the main body of the document. They are listed outside of it, but it's almost like amendments, except instead of the thing that you hold up, it's a thing that you hide. And in the amendments, particularly the human rights protocols, I should say, there was a lot of stuff that I thought was rather sketchy, mainly, the death penalty or death by law enforcement. And I remember, do you remember this?
I remember this.
Yeah, it was like, well,
it's pretty funny.
The cops can't kill anybody unless you're running away from them. So deadly force can be used if you're running away from a cop. And if you
we see that structure that being implemented worldwide.
Yeah.
Which is, it happens a lot of the shootings in the United States are some guy running away from the cops.
Right. Well,
and then they shoot a guy in the back.
Yeah.
And the guy gets off 90% of the time.
Well, EU law would be legal. Also, if you have a communicable disease, which could be the flu, but the time I think we did have, was it the
swine flu?
Swine flu, I think, was around that time, not long after it. It could have been flu or any other reason you can get arrested and incarcerated. And it was like, well, that's not really great human rights, and it was codified in law. So there was a lawsuit, which is very minor, in Vienna, I believe. There was a woman who was disparaging towards the Prophet Muhammad. And in fact, the statement she made, as she implied that the Prophet Muhammad had pedophilic tendencies, and she was convicted for disparaging religious doctrines in February of 2011. She was fined about $500 and the cost of proceedings. But she appealed this. She said, I have the right to freedom of expression, Article 10 in the protocols, the European human rights law. And so this went all the way to the big court, the European Court of Human Rights. This is you cannot go any further with this with your lawsuit, and they upheld the ruling that she was guilty of overstepping boundaries of what you can say. In fact, here's what the ECHR, the European Court for Human Rights, said. It found in particular that domestic courts comprehensively assessed the wider context of the applicant's statements and carefully balanced her right to freedom of expression with the right of others to have their religious feelings protected, and served the legitimate aim of preserving religious peace in Austria. So the court upheld this conviction. And this led me to just checking in on Article 10 of the European Convention on Human Rights. It all came flooding back to me. Let me explain to you how you have no right to freedom of speech or expression in the European Union. It's only 2 paragraphs. Article 10, freedom of expression. Number 1, everyone has the right to freedom of expression. So far, so good. This right shall include freedom to hold opinions and to receive and impart information and ideas without interference by public authority and regardless of frontiers. This article shall not prevent states, that's the countries who are member countries, they call them states now, from requiring the license of broadcasting, television, or cinema enterprises. I remember us also laughing about the cinema. The countries can require licenses for showing movies. But here it is in number 2. And this is what no one will tell you. And I've read story after story. I've seen it mentioned on Fox News. But no one tells you why the court ruled this way. It's not just because they're a bunch of a-holes. No, it's in the law. Article 10, 2. The exercise of these freedoms, since it carries with it duties and responsibilities, may be subject to such formalities, conditions, restrictions, or penalties as are prescribed by law and are necessary in a democratic society. In the interest of national security, territorial integrity, or public safety, for the prevention of disorder or crime, for the protection of health or morals. I'm trying to ring the bell as hard as I can. Morals. for the protection of the reputation or rights of others, for preventing the disclosure of information received in confidence, or for maintaining the authority and impartiality of the judiciary. So right there, codified in your European law, in your constitutional law, if I may call it that, is you can't offend people. And you were never told this when you signed on to it. You have no right to freedom of expression if you hurt someone's feelings, as expressly stated by the High Court.
Yeah.
I just find it...
I'm glad you brought that to our attention again.
Well, it's only been 11 years.
I really find it hard to believe you haven't brought that up in the meantime. But yeah, I know, you're screwed.
I mean, it's
and by the way, voting for BLEXIT, not going to happen. You can't do that either.
What? Because you might offend somebody?
Yeah, but everything's offensive. If you put the offensive, if you incorporate offending people into the notion of freedom of speech,
it's done.
There is no freedom of speech.
Of course not.
Because especially these humorless drones that are out there, these reptiles, they don't have a sense of humor. They're offended by everything. So what are you going to do?
Well, it goes a little bit further. This is just I'm just staying with Euroland. Macron, president of France, claimed that European countries would not be allowed to pick and choose only policies they like, but rather must share the burden of mass immigration. Yes, here we go.
Oh, please.
Yeah, we have a collective need for coherence and solidarity. We cannot benefit from the European budget without demonstrating solidarity on migration. Europe is not a supermarket, meaning member states can't choose fundamental European values.
I thought each nation had at least some sovereignty.
Zero. None. No. So if you don't take migrants your fair share, you will not have access to some of the monies that come from the central authorities. And that's obviously a... Also, I think this ruling against Austria, there's a lot of historical context. They also have a very interesting leader now, a young guy. What's his name again? Who's leading Austria?
He's a Nazi.
That's right. It's just Austria, so he's got to be a Nazi because Austria was Nazis. We all know that. Nazis.
Let us never forget that Hitler came from Austria.
That's right. So the rhetoric is really, really, really out of control. But also the law. You just have no rights. That, to me, right there is enough. I never need to live in the EU. I mean, you never know what happens. Never say never, but poof. Can you imagine, especially me with my Tourette's mouth? I mean, this is very, very dangerous.
It's not even a bad version.
Well,
I will read a note from Grant, who I asked him where he's from. He's from New Zealand. He's been living in Malaysia for the last 12 years or more. Listening to the show and simply getting annoyed at your society and your media.
I saw this note, yeah.
I did political studies in university. Well, you know he's not from the United States.
No.
In university about 35 years ago, and my lecturer, an active Marxist, used to tell us the main tool of Marxism to overthrow a capitalist society is to challenge the society's order and create upheaval on every level.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not an American, but the whole political correctness movement, SJWs, Democrat far-left shout-downs, and attacks on freedom of speech, along with the No Borders movement, are all major attacks on your society by Marxists.
Yes.
Marxists, plural.
Mm-hmm.
Who is behind it? I don't know. What you need is a new moderate McCarthy cleansing to burn out the assault you now face. Well, that's kind of Trump. Also, get your kids to read Solzhenitsyn's Gulag Archipelago, as they are inoculated, so they can get inoculated from this BS. The kulaks were the capitalists of the Russian Revolution, and they thrived despite their repression. Wow, this is socialist struggle to get anything done in silencing dissent.
Is there an audible version of it? Otherwise, no kids.
Gulag Archipelago?
No kids are going to listen to it. We should probably do it.
No, I'm sure there is one.
Oh, really? You think? Yeah, maybe.
I'd be surprised if there wasn't.
It's a classic. Well, this brings me to something that we need to discuss, and I'm glad. I'm always happy that I get to talk with you. But we were both alive during this, what happened and this folds right into what you're saying about or what our producer here is saying about education. Because of course, what's happening now is because of what is being taught in schools. I heard, maybe we read this on the show. Already there are textbooks in schools for grade schoolers, middle schoolers that show or that specifically teach Donald Trump came to power with racism. I mean, that's already in the curriculum. And I'd love to have one of those books if someone can send one to me. I would love to see that.
Yes, we would love to get some of these books.
So I think we've kind of deduced or deconstructed over the years that this happened in a period of time where the elites in America were being wooed by nefarious agents, and Marxism kind of crept in, and especially through the arts.
Yes, Marxism always creeps in through the arts, but they're wooed by the globalist promise of security. Yeah. I mean, that's been my thesis all along, which is the idea is, can we set up a structure where people won't steal my stuff now that I'm rich?
Right.
I'm worth $1 billion. I want to make sure I'm worth $1 billion when I'm dead, and I want to make sure my family still has resources. I don't want somebody creating a problem and then stealing my money.
Right.
And war is one of the biggest redistribution systems. People always say, redistribution of wealth. Nothing does it like war.
Yeah, it also gets rid of a lot of pesky people who could be thieves.
It also gets rid of people. The art gets sent to the Hermitage Museum in Russia.
That's right.
Everything gets stolen.
Everything's rearranged.
Your house gets burnt down. It's like a problem. And so globalism, of course, is going to fix this problem by not letting this happen again.
Yeah, and how's that working out so far?
It's working out very well. The problem that I have is that the globalists are actually taking credit for these years and years of peace since World War II. And they always say, well, it's these globalist structures. It's the United Nations and all these World Trade Organizations, all these other things, the EU. This is because of all these things. And the United States being the cops of the world. All that is the reason that we have not had a war for such a long time. Which is we're coming on to.
It's also a great way to reset the debts and balances of countries.
War does that. Yeah. The problem is that the real reason we haven't had a war for so long is because no one knows how to get around the nuclear deterrence problems. Where you got these, if you start a war, you could be bombed to smithereens with 10 bombs, and and all the missiles and stuff. It's the deterrence of war is because we've been so armed to the teeth, I think.
Right. Well, I think that the idea of the globalists has shifted a little bit, and instead of war, we'll just let algos run everything, and everyone gets a living wage, and you just be a
just sit around,
watch
television,
be on social media.
This was actually kind of predicted in the Jacques Ellul book, The Technological Society, which people in our listenership should definitely read. He kind of predicts this future. It was written in the 70s, I believe. He's a sociologist and a theologian from Bordeaux. Ellul is the spelling, and he discusses the technocracy, the coming technocracy, where and we heard at least one clip today where they're advocating it.
Yes.
No reason not to have an algorithm spot the kooks.
And a great follow-up to that to read would be Industrial Society and Its Future by Professor Theodore Kaczynski, because he very accurately predicts social justice warriors on social networks, over-socialized people, everything you're seeing now. Yes, he tried to get this published, and no one would publish it, and he resorted to violence and blew some people up. He was the Unabomber, this professor, but he did it because he wanted the New York Times and the Washington Post to publish his manifesto, which they did. You can read it. You can get it online. You can get it from Amazon. It's amazing. Amazon still allows it. And it is worth the read because it doesn't talk about how you kill people. It talks about the situation we're in right now, which he predicted, which no one would listen to him. And sadly, people died in vain because, well, maybe not. Maybe because there's 20 people in the world who still say, hey, it's worth a read. If a college professor is willing to kill people to get people to read it, it's before the internet, maybe it's worth reading. But there's something else. There is a lie in our education system which has been propagated, and I think it's probably people about 15, 20 years younger than I am, because I was not taught this lie. But this lie is prevalent, and I want to discuss it, and I want to discuss the history of it. And it's in our lifetimes, and it's very important because it explains a lot of the racist stuff we hear today, the name-calling and pure racism from people who are calling someone else racist. I mean, it's really unbelievable how the word racism and racist has been just been infused so deeply into certainly American society, but I think it's bleeding out everywhere. And this comes to us because of Candace Owens, who I've been following. Candace Owens kind of blew onto the scene when Kanye West tweeted, "I like the way Candace Owens thinks," and she's a very interesting girl, a young woman, I should say. I think she's just
the problem is, I want to mention this. You reminded me that I have the origin story for her that I had wanted to clip sometime. I'm going to have to go back and get it because she is interesting. Go on. Sorry.
And she's black. It's important in this context. And she has now actually just launched a website, which I think is funny. I don't know if it's the right word because he's trying to brand this, but it's called BLEXIT.com, which is so it's for blacks to exit the Democrat Party. BLEXIT.com, a play on words with Brexit. It's cute, but I don't think it's very. I would have chosen something else. But she's out there promoting this, and here's a stand-up speech she does with a number of young African Americans. I'm not quite sure what the context was, but there's something that she says that I've heard now 3-4 times, and I want to know from our producers if you were taught this in school as well, and particularly for our black producers. Did you hear that? Were you taught this in school?
Black lives have never, ever, ever mattered to the Democrat Party. Black votes always have. They have created systems that we cannot get out of. The welfare system was meant to do what it has done to our families. It has decimated our communities. The single motherhood rate in the 1960s was at 23%. Today, the single motherhood rate is 74% in the black community. They incentivized that. They removed the black father from the home because they knew that once you break down the family, you can control. You can control the youth that are growing up. They gave us hip hop. They gave us the media. They didn't give us the facts. They lied to us in school. They told us that the Republican and the Democrat Party switched. That never happened, okay? One person switched parties. Nobody else did.
This is the lie that I hear over and over again, that the parties switched. The racists, because I think everyone kind of remembers that Lincoln, who freed the slaves, was a Republican. But then the party switched and all the racists became Republican and all the cool cats became Democrat. Have you heard this ever before, John?
Yeah, I've heard it. I know where it comes from. I know what they're trying to do. It's a propaganda piece by the Democrats.
Well, I just want to run through this, and I have 2 clips to back it up, which are, I think, interesting to listen to. But the way the switch is explained is through the Dixiecrats and the Southern strategy, which was that Nixon's strategy, the Southern strategy?
Yeah, it was Nixon's strategy.
So, and I have to go back into the history to get to that, but the Southern strategy was the way it's explained, which I think is a lie, is Nixon wanted to get all of the racists on board. And he said, "Hey, Dixiecrats, come on over to the Republican Party." And the lie is that they then all switched and went over there to be with the racists. But in reality, it was only one who switched party affiliation. That was a guy who has been alive in my lifetime, Strom Thurmond. So if we go back in history, what really happened is we had first FDR with the New Deal. This was right after the Depression. And jump in, John, because you're much better at this than I am. So the New Deal, and the New Deal, the idea was, we're going to help everybody out of this depression. But part of the history that is not very well known is the New Deal actually circumvented at a federal level anti-lynching laws. That was part of getting the New Deal passed, because otherwise it just would not pass, because the Democratic Party, the Democrats were the racists, predominantly from the South. and it excluded farm workers and household help. So pretty much every slave got almost nothing, just crumbs. So then we have LBJ, and LBJ comes into power in a very messy way, but we have the Civil Rights Act. And LBJ, I think it's almost 100% proof that he was in the KKK. I think he was a Klan member.
I don't believe that to be true.
Okay, well, I do have some quotes from him.
He's not from the right state, for one thing.
He was incredibly racist.
He was a Texan, big time. Texans weren't normally in the KKK.
Right.
Yes, racist for sure.
And
that's documented.
And I have some stuff to back that up. And
so you don't need it.
Well, it's interesting because we've never played any clips of this guy, and I think we do need it. I think it's very needed, John. I want you to hear it. It's interesting. And so then then we have the Southern strategy, and then that's where the lie happened that all of a sudden everything changed, and then it was because of the New Deal and whatever scraps we could get. It wasn't that the parties switched affiliation, but Black Americans, the slaves, the former slaves, went with the New Deal and then started supporting Democrats. Dinesh D'Souza, who I've never looked into. I've never really paid any attention to him. I think he's written a lot of books people think is good. Didn't he get jailed or something for his movie? What happened recently?
He was thrown in jail for campaign finance fraud, and he was pardoned by Trump.
Right. Well, so the Democrats hate him, and with good reason.
Oh, yeah.
With good reason. So here I'm going to 2 clips. This is him kind of telling the story. What he's not good at is giving us a succinct. Here's the whole timeline. So I had to hack it together a little bit, but I think he lays it out very clearly here. And again, this is a lie that people who are in their 30s, prime time right now, have believed. They believe that Republicans are racist because of the switch, and a no agenda fact I'd add to that, which no one ever discusses. From a media standpoint, from an entertainment standpoint, in that very same period, right after the Civil Rights Act, we had Archie Bunker. Brought to you by Norman Lear, known propagandist. To this day, the Norman Lear Hollywood Foundation is still propagandizing in your entertainment. And Archie Bunker, who actually was acting like a Democrat, was branded a Republican on that show and a racist. And how long was that show on? 10 years?
He was on for a very long time.
And it
also included Rob Reiner was in that show.
Thank you. And Rob Reiner, he comes from that hatred. He grew up literally hating Archie Bunker on the show for everything he stood for, and it was planted into his head. It was a Republican, and I think we've talked about it before. You've said that this is actually exactly what Democrats in the day were like.
Yes. Archie Bunker was a perfect Democrat of the era. In fact, he would never be a Republican because he was working class, and at the time, the Democrats were represented by working class ideals and hated the white collar workers, which were considered Republicans, who couldn't even make as much money as the Democrats could.
Here's Dinesh D'Souza with a kind of rundown of this history.
Well, all the 3 progressive heroes of the 20th century, and I'm thinking here of Woodrow Wilson, FDR, and Johnson, are very bad on the race issue, all of them. Now, generally, the left concedes on Wilson. They can't deny that he expanded segregation in the federal government. They know he screened the pro-Ku Klux Klan movie in the White House. They don't stress this, but they know that led to a big Ku Klux Klan revival. Now, FDR, they've been pretty clever in camouflaging FDR's dirty deeds. And FDR's dirty deeds are 2. This is the deal he made with the Democratic racists to get the New Deal through. Number 1, they said to him, FDR, you have to agree to block all anti-lynching laws. Block all anti-lynching laws. And FDR agreed. And the second thing was they said, blacks mainly work in domestic service and agricultural labor. We want you to exclude those from most New Deal programs. And FDR agreed again. There were laws on the books, but the Republicans were proposing anti-lynching legislation that would override, if you will, these state laws on lynching. There would be a federal prohibition on state lynching laws. FDR had no states' rights issue with any of this, of course, but what it was that it was a prudential pact that he made with the racists in the Democratic Party. So that's FDR. Lyndon Johnson, cynical, wanted to keep blacks, by his own words, on the plantation, and he figured out that the Civil Rights Act was the way to go. Now, interestingly, more Republicans proportionally voted for that Civil Rights Act in 64 and the Voting Rights Act in 65 and the Fair Housing Bill in 68 than Democrats did. This is not well known, and this has allowed Democrats to say, well, Lyndon Johnson, and then they hijack the whole civil rights movement as if they did it. But in fact, the opposition to the civil rights movement came from the Democratic Party. The infamous sheriff, Bull Connor, Democrat. Arkansas Governor Orville Faubus, who stood in the schoolhouse door, blocked black kids from getting into school, Democrat. And so if the Democrats had been the only party in America, no Republicans, none of those laws would have passed. Now, there was the swap that they talk about did not take place, but there was a different swap that did take place that has nothing to do with race. So, for example, the swap that did not take place, if you look at the Dixiecrats, you make a list of them, it's a pretty big list. Strom Thurmond is the only one who moved over to the Republican Party. So this is a case hinging on one guy. The rest of the Dixiecrats, they were happy to be Democrats. They went right back in the Democratic Party. They were lionized by the Democrats till the day they died. A good example of this is Robert Byrd, former member of the Ku Klux Klan. I mean, Obama went to his funeral. Bill Clinton was there. Clinton, by the way, made a very interesting statement. He goes, you can't blame good old Robert Byrd for being in the Klan because, and now I open quotes, you had to be in the Klan to advance in the Democratic Party. The Grand Wizard, I believe, is the one who said to him, young Bob, you got a lot of talent. You need to go into politics. This is from Byrd's own account of how he first went into politics. Byrd was a member in full standing of the Democratic Party, never repudiated. Hillary calls him, when he dies, her mentor. So this is the difference. The Democratic Party loves these guys and makes them feel at home with them, whereas the Republican Party has always tried to hit the eject button. Coming back to the switch, it is true that the blacks who used to be Republicans, the party of Lincoln, did move over to the Democratic Party, but they didn't do it because of race. They did it in the 30s because of the promises and actual economic benefits of the New Deal. So you may almost say that blacks were bribed into it. They knew that they were leaving the party of Lincoln and emancipation and the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment, and they were joining the party of segregation and the Ku Klux Klan. Now, white Republicans, white Democrats did move over to the Republican Party, but that was between the 70s and the 90s, basically in the Reagan era. Again, this has nothing to do with bigotry. Reagan was appealing to patriotism, free markets, traditional values, Christianity, and those are the issues that caused the non-racist South to swivel over to the Republican Party.
Now, I'm aware that a lot of people will say, so all you have to do is just send me a link to anything you think is a different opinion. I'm very interested in it. But this is not the story that's been told to the children who are now of prime voting age. And certainly, it sounds like Candace Owens was convinced that this happened. And Kanye West, I've heard him say something similar. And man, if you read about Lyndon Johnson, what a racist prick. Unbelievable. And he had this, woo, I'm going to pass the Civil Rights Act. But really what he was doing was setting up the Northern Plantation. And the Northern Plantation is what we have today. Since, we can't really, we got the blacks, what are we going to do? Well, I think we can do the same thing, just like with the Civil Rights Act. And we have people who really, really are willing to just eat shit and clean toilets and do all kinds of crap for a pittance. And we really don't care about them. And thus was born our fine immigration standards. So there's a lot of history that I think needs to be re-examined. And to me, looking at some of the people who are in our government, in the U.S. government today, they were around. I remember Byrd. I went to school. I think he was still in office in West Virginia. And he was
there for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he died in office. I could be wrong. Okay. I'm not buying any of this. I think it's a little simplified.
Okay.
I think it's really simplified, and I think Dinesh D'Souza simplified it more.
Okay.
It's a much more complicated issue than that. The Southern strategy was an effort to capture the Dixiecrat focused public, not the fact that one congressman switched parties. I mean, it's got nothing to do with it. I mean, people that used to vote Democrat started voting Republican, and there was millions of people that switched.
Mm-hmm.
And they were Democrats before. Reagan in particular. I mean, Nixon exploited it. He's the one who came up with the idea. And it was something of a wink, wink, nudge, nudge to the racism of the South. And I don't think anybody would argue that. It wasn't like they were approving it or anything.
Well, hold on, you're talking about Reagan now.
No, I'm talking about Nixon,
the
Southern strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Reagan really took advantage of it because he actually was swept over the working class Democrats, not just a bunch of racists down south.
Okay, so there was a switch, and did the actual politicians switch parties and the racist dicks from the South?
No. The politicians had nothing to do with it. It's the Southern strategy wasn't to. I think this is a
no. The Southern strategy, but I think that's a little bit after everything. That happened after.
The Southern strategy was Nixon in the 70s. This idea that for this to be a switch, you mean that the political guys had to switch. The political guys aren't switching. They're in their parties. They're part of a machine. They can't switch parties.
But that's the point.
No, the point is that's not the point.
He said no one switched. That's what he said. No one switched.
Yeah, no, of course not. These are Democrats and Republicans are both the same.
Do you understand that?
I understand that this is a misread. What you're giving me is a misread of history.
I'm okay. Do you understand?
You're just looking at the political, the top guys.
No. I'm okay with that. But what is being taught is the political history, not anything else. The political history says that the racist Democrats switched and became Republicans. That's the story. That's simplification for you right there.
Yeah. Because that's largely what happened in this with utilizing the Southern strategy.
Apparently, only one person moved over.
So you're not counting 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, 5 million voters.
Politicians.
Why would a politician move over?
I agree with you, but the lie is that they literally switched parties.
I've never heard that in my life.
Candace Owens has.
What is she talking about? Politicians? Or is she talking about the public?
No, she's literally talking about the politicians. She was taught in school that all the racist Democrats from the South all went to the Republican Party, and that's why the Republican Party is so racist. Why you should always vote Democrat.
Republicans in the South went to the Republican, or the racist Democrats in the South. Most of them went to the Republican Party.
But you're talking voters. I'm talking about the politicians.
It wasn't about politicians. It was always about voters.
Okay. We're going in circles.
I heard the Candace clips. I have not heard her say politicians. She doesn't use the word.
Yeah, she's sure.
You're the one that says politicians. Denise D'Souza's the one who says politicians. That wasn't what it was about at all.
But that's what she said. She said there was only one that switched, and that was Storm Thurmond. That's what she said.
Strom.
That's what she said in that clip. She was taught that the politicians swapped.
Well, she's wrong.
No, that's what she's admitting that's not true, but she says that's what you have to understand. You're taking it way too far.
Oh, I'm taking it to the real deal, which is the honesty of it.
Yeah, that's fine, but you need to recognize one thing. It's frustrating.
I was there for that era. And I don't remember them ever talking about the politicians don't switch.
You have not. You and I were not taught this. Listen to me.
I've heard it from the beginning. You already said this a million times. You say that a bunch of kids who are now 30 were taught that all the politicians switched over to the Republican side.
Yes, and no one has countered that.
That's because I don't think it happened.
No, but no. We know it didn't happen. The point is, Black America at a voting age today has been taught in school. The reason you, as a Black American,
documentation for this. I heard the argument. You can go over it again and again and again, and you can make this claim, and I think you might be right. But I don't see any documentation that proves this is true.
I know. I agree with you. It didn't happen.
No, I'm talking about the kids. I'm talking about the kids getting brainwashed into thinking this happened.
How did I set it up? I said, I want to hear from our producers, particularly Black producers, were you taught this in school? That was how I prefaced it.
Fine. I'm just saying, you asked me to give some input. I mean, I waited and waited, and I did, and you could jump all over me. All I'm saying, it's bull crap.
Well, I'm saying the same thing.
Well, then what are we arguing about?
I don't know. You said I was completely wrong and off base.
No, I didn't. I said that the basis is bull crap, and who cares that Strom? I don't even remember him doing it, but Strom Thurmond, who was, we could do a show on that guy.
Why? Okay, all I'm saying is that, and this started with Kanye West, who said we have been taught to only vote for Democrats.
Yes, this is true.
And what I'm hearing is that this has been taught to at least two predominant black Americans who I don't know, but I hear speak. And they both said, this is what we were taught, that the parties switched, that the racist politicians, forget who the voters, the racist politicians, they all became Republicans.
Yeah.
That's what they, and I agree, it didn't happen. We were agreeing on that. My point is, if black America is being taught that, this is a real problem because we
have to have some evidence that they are being taught this. This is my argument about it, is I don't believe that they are being taught this.
Okay, so that was my premise.
Now, I do believe it's possible there's some teachers, some subversive teachers out there that are teaching all kinds of crazy stuff.
I mean,
the fact that you got OCW or whatever her name is out there in New York, an out and out socialist,
AOC,
whatever her name is. She's like, who came up with these concepts? This is not an American; it's anti-American. Or the guys are walking around with the "No Borders, End Capitalism" signs, and people, yay, yay for you. I mean, what is that all about?
So. If you go on YouTube, I'm fine. I totally agree with everything you said. All I know is I see a lot, and I'll bring more clips. I would love to see it as well. I'd love to see the books. I want to know what someone was really taught. I want to hear it. I want to understand it. I'm sure it wasn't. I'm 100% it wasn't just black kids who were taught this, because the white kids are all in on it too. And they were taught this in school. I wasn't taught this. You weren't taught this. I believe this has slipped into the education system, and it's one of those things that is now just a fact, like 97% of scientists. And I think this conversation was certainly long enough for people to see if they can find out if they've heard this. I'm sure there are books. There's got to be some curriculum. If so, I think that's a real travesty.
So let's listen to where they probably learned it from. Television.
Yes.
I have two clips from the latest Murphy Brown show.
Oh, God.
And this is the
who's producing this thing, by the way?
Apparently the Lear Foundation.
I'll look it up.
So this will be a scene. This is a scene with the stereotype IT guy who's an Indian.
Of course.
So the stereotype IT Indian guy comes in, and we're going to listen to a scene. He brings in an Alexa-like box who's going to solve Murphy's problem. The Alexa-like box is brought into the scene, and you'll hear the way this transpires, and you will hear the way information like what you're complaining about is brought into the public consciousness. This is the Val scene.
What y'all talking about? Nothing much. But it's about the big drug story, huh?
How do you know about that?
Sometimes, just to keep my skills sharp, I hack into your computers. Frank, you have a lot less money in your Bank of America account than I would have expected. Don't worry, I stepped up security on all your emails, so you're safe.
Welcome aboard, Pat, and enter into the circle of trust.
Cool. Also, I come bearing gifts. Murphy, I looked into your record with assistants and... Did you know that some of them formed a support group? And at the end of every session, they pummel a Murphy Brown pinata with broomsticks. Anyway, I developed an algorithm that uses non-binary criteria and advanced analytics to find you the perfect assistant.
I never know what this kid is saying.
All you need to know is that I found you the perfect assistant. She is tireless, speaks many languages, has worldwide connections, and you never have to tell her the same thing twice. Meet Val.
It's a thermos.
No, VAL. It stands for Voice Activated Little? I don't actually know what the L stands for. Anyway, this is not your basic off-the-shelf artificial intelligence. This is a next-generation, cutting-edge piece of tech not even on the market yet. Watch this. Val, how many times during his administration has Trump lied?
President Trump has made false or misleading statements 5,247 times. Correction, 5,248. Correction. Apologies. He is currently at a rally.
You hear that? Next generation AI monitoring in real time.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So we go to clip 2 from this. I think this is a gold mine for us, by the way, because it's so bad. Now, this is the bar. There's a bar there that is part of the sets, and Murphy goes in there with the crew, and they drink. And the actress that runs the bar, who is used to be in Cagney and Lacey, I can't remember her name, but
yeah, the blonde one.
No, the brunette.
Oh, I don't know.
She's the bartender, and the scene begins with. Now, this is the most outrageous thing I've ever seen on this show. The scene begins with some obvious Republican, because we know Republicans are associated with wearing suits. And so this Republican is at this bar in Washington, D.C., and you're going to hear a ridiculous dialogue that would never happen. And I'm totally convinced that the Democrats in Hollywood think that this would actually happen without this guy either having his ass kicked or being shot or stabbed. But this is a scene to show you what jerks Republicans are in a public situation. And this is, again, written right out of Hollywood, right from the Norman Lear group.
But speak English, Pedro. You're in America now. Déjame llamarte de vuelta. Thank you, sir. But I'm quite aware I'm in America. Washington, D.C. to be exact, founded in the Compromise of 1790 by Alexander Hamilton, James Madison, and Thomas Jefferson. Since made famous in the song, A Room Where It Happens, from the 2016 Tony Award-winning musical, Hamilton. I can sing it for you if you'd like.
You think that's funny? One call and I could have you deported. It's time to take America back. My America.
Hey, pal. When you're in this bar, you're in my America. And if you can't behave yourself, I'll deport your ass right out that door.
I'm finding another bar. It's too brown in here.
Wow. Oh, wow. Well, first, let me just go back to the racist first segment. I mean, could it get any more stereotypical of an Indian guy who talk like this? This is very good. I have many. It's good. I will give you exact information. That's racist.
Well, they didn't use an extreme Indian voice. They had the
close enough. It was close enough.
That is too racist. But this other scene where this Mexican kid...
That's just funny!
He's talking in Spanish to somebody on a cell phone, and this guy calls him out. And he's behind the bar. So you want to call out your help there unless you want to spit in your food. I don't get it, but okay. And then he's just condemning him. This is what somebody thinks that this is a possible real interaction.
Yes. Yeah, that's the way it's presented. This is no different than the Archie Bunker show. This is exactly the same thing.
Yeah, it's nonsense. And it's very insulting to the public, I think, at large. Now, I want to go back to our discussion of the bomber. Because
can I just mention TV ratings? Murphy Brown slips again.
Oh, yeah, this is not going to last.
Yeah, this is no. And it's
too insulting to the audience. Yeah. As I'm almost convinced that the scripting of this mad bomber, I like to call him, with his phony bombs,
is a Norman Lear type script.
I'm absolutely convinced that the Democrats and the Rob Reiners of the world actually expected, because I heard the preliminary talk about this. In fact, the Warner clip, which I had you cut off, he goes on and on about how why hasn't Trump said anything about this? It's just starting, this is an early moment. They expected Trump to, I believe,
defend.
I know this sounds
defend
yes. I am totally convinced of this, that they actually expected Trump to defend this guy or to say, well, it's not that big of a deal. Or,
they didn't explode, didn't explode.
Yeah. I'm totally convinced of that. And Trump comes on with a hard ass, let's string the guy up kind of thing. Well, and they didn't know what got. But that was unexpected. Why Trump would be, as a Republican, would be so pro law and order. That doesn't make any sense.
Scott Adams did one of his periscopes, and he said that he felt that and Scott Adams all about the persuasion. He said the persuasion that Trump used of saying in front of a room of young black leaders, all cheering him, talking about law and order, the force of the law coming down, we're going to get this guy. He said that is extremely persuasive for all audiences, except, of course, the Rob Reiners of the world. And that Scott Adams felt that was a very, very good move.
Yeah, I heard that too. He's had a couple of interesting observations recently.
Al Sharpton, not so much.
One of the lowest things that he could ever do, to go in the East Room, which is sacred, have a state.
I didn't know the East Room was sacred. Is it?
I guess it's East Room sacred.
The hallowed, sacred East Room.
To go in the East Room, which is sacred, have a staged rally. Notice that all of those youngsters had caps on. It was almost like we're going to dress you for the photo. And to call it a Young Black Leaders Summit, he raves about the violence in Chicago, which he should. Why weren't they discussing that? Why weren't they discussing student loans? Why weren't they discussing issues of young blacks? They just had Kanye in there at least talking about criminal justice. None of that. They're in there talking about CNN sucks. They're in there talking about build a wall. So why do you need a Young Black Summit to do it? Because it was not a summit. It was a Make America Great rally.
Yeah, I didn't talk about anything. I mean, I didn't see the whole summit. I don't know if it's on C-SPAN.
He didn't either.
Clearly. All it was just dressing up some black kids in red hats. Racist. I can't believe that guy.
Meanwhile, I'd like to get someone to get me the full in-context clip of this Rick Wilson clip that's floating around.
Oh, I wouldn't even play it because someone sent me that. I'm like, no. I get trapped by these clips all the time. You called me out on one the other day because I didn't listen to it in context.
Right.
And so
but you didn't do what I'm about to do.
Oh. Well.
I think this is out of context because
of course it's out of context.
Nobody in their right mind would do this without having some context. But yet I'm only playing it because it's a meme.
Yeah.
It's floating around the net like crazy. And I'm not seeing I don't read anything about it. I don't hear anybody why it's out of context or anything else. That's why I'm hoping somebody could get me some context for this clip.
Here's the thing. Trump is still a very powerful force right now, and he's still holding a lot of the part of the base that is very activated by his message, the nativist message that's got a fraction of the base very energized. And the donor class can't just sit back on the sidelines and say, oh, well, don't worry, this will all work itself out. They're still going to have to go out and put a bullet in Donald Trump. And that's a fact.
Now, I believe this clip was actually from 2015 to make it even worse. I think this is still when he's campaigning. And once I saw that, I'm like, okay, I don't need to go figure this clip out.
That would make more sense.
S. Will sends me an email. Born in 1987, went to public school in Southern Virginia. History textbook as far back as middle school taught the party switch. My face-bagged friends of same age say, the party switch, crack open a book, when I challenge them. They absolutely believe it to be true.
Okay, I want to see this document.
Me too. This is just preliminary. It's just coming in. I really want to... send me the book. I want to crack open that book. I desperately want to see it. I think it's a huge travesty, if it's true. Hey, we're just a couple of old white guys. What do we know?
Well,
sorry. What?
But no, yeah, we'll say, what? Go on.
No.
Hit the theme.
I'm going to show my support by donating to No Agenda. Imagine all the people who could do that. Oh, yeah, that'd be fab. Yeah, on No Agenda. In the morning.
We have a few people to thank, starting with Eric Crawford in Lubbock, Texas. $111.11. These will be the last $111.11 guys.
That's right.
Sir Paul from Horseheads. He says, now as you turned 11, be on the lookout for the following changes. Your voice cracking, acne,
oh boy,
hair in new places, long showers, special dreams, and uncontrollable erections at inappropriate times. That's Paul from Horse.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks. I'll be on the lookout for that.
Thanks for the tip.
Yeah, just the tip.
Gerald Preston, 111. These are all 111s. I'll name them in location. Robert Dawson in Taiwan. Sir Dirtbag Dave in Concord, California. Stephen E. Taft. And Andrew Elliott, Saginaw, Michigan. Thomas Haslett. Let me get a drink here. Sir Reddy Kilowatt.
Haven't heard from him in a while.
No, we haven't heard from him from a long time. He's in the chat room, he claims.
He says, donation might get me up to Baronet or something. Don't know, don't care. We don't know ourselves, but we do care. And thank you very much for your care. Yeah, we care a lot.
Olaf Wolf in München.
Hello, Deutschland.
Deutschland.
Here's the Huff.
Adam Ward in Derbyshire.
He needs an F cancer karma for everyone listening.
Oh, Adam Wolf's actually won 10-11, but I think it's just, I don't know why that happened. They'll give an F karma at the end for you. That's it. We don't have a lot, and this is a weak show. Charles Bennett, McCall, Idaho, 10101. Roderick Velo, $100. Baron Mark Tanner, 67.89. Dame Jamie, 61.52. She needs some bunny karma.
Okay.
She's not Jamie Graham.
Did you see the picture she sent?
No.
She got a lot of bunnies.
Oh, she's a bunny girl.
She's definitely a bunny girl. By the way, the Baron of the rest of Colorado, Charles Bennett, needed a jobs karma. Put that at the end as well.
Anonymous, 6111. Bart Burtons in Best Netherlands.
Drunk donation.
5701. Sir Chris James in Sturgis, Michigan. 55. Robert Robinson, 5433. Eric Hokel in Mulrose, Deutschland. Mulrose. And he didn't use all these characters, so it came through. Jack Burton, 5150. Joel Bassesi, I'm thinking. Sir Eric VM, the Baronet of the Valley in Van Nuys, California, 5011. The following people are $50 donors, name and location, beginning with Jose Ferreira in Newbury, Berkshire, UK. Sir Peter Totes in Sugar Land, Texas. Robert Mikowski in Rhinebeck, New York. Darren Deniszewski in Dubai. Send us some photos. Jeffrey Zellen in Oakland, Michigan. Dennis Garcia in San Francisco, California. Niels Bonnecker in Hamburg, Deutschland. A lot of Germans today. Hello. Louis Pasteur in Miami, Florida. Christopher Charabaruk is something like that. He says he's only started. He says, I've known about the show for a long time, but only started listening recently. My only regret, what does he say here? My only regret is I didn't start listening right away. I keep up the great work for another 11 years.
Thank you very much.
He's regret not listening. And that's our last guy.
Oh, okay. All right.
Dropped right off.
Yes.
Boom.
But we appreciate everybody who sends anything in for our value for value system. That's how it works. How much is it worth to you? And just think about, that's the only, really, even in economics, the only thing you have is time. That's once you have everything, once you got your phone, you got your computer, you got your electric scooter, you got your dog. There's no more stuff you can get, no more stuff you can buy. All you got left is time. How do you spend it, and what is it worth to you, how you spend your time? And I think we've actually found people extra time. You can listen to this podcast when you're doing all kinds of other things.
Yeah, and you can learn while exercising, learn while doing chores. You can learn while driving.
And learn is a big word, but you can be entertained for sure. We always want to make you laugh, and maybe
learn is not a big word.
It's a small word, but it's big. Hey, listen to No Agenda podcast and learn. Yeah, all right.
Yeah, that's a bit much.
It is a little much. Hey, we really appreciate it. Thank you so much. We, of course, have another show coming up on Thursday. We really need your support to keep it going. 11 years, still going strong.
Dvorak.org/donate. BLEXIT.com/NA.
And I do want to thank Mike Harrington, who sent me I don't know if you got one of these, John, a jar of his wild huckleberry preserves.
Yes, I did. It just came.
From Glacier. Glacier where? Where's Glacier?
Glacier National Park.
Oh, Glacier National Park. That's right. It says it right on there.
He's the park guy, isn't he?
Oh, is he a ranger guy?
He's the guy. He's now at, I think he's in Grand Canyon now.
Ah, that's right.
Toilets, remember?
Well,
he changed his knighthood name to Toilet Guy.
Yes. Now, because he's a knight, I tried it. I'm not really big on trying things people I don't know send through the mail.
Yeah.
Especially if I'm going to eat them. But I tried it last night, and I'm still here. And it was very, very tasty. Thank you very much, Mike. Appreciate
Good. I was waiting for that.
Wait, let me do the karmas
Jobs,
first.
jobs, jobs, and jobs. Let's vote for jobs. You've got karma.
Yes, huckleberries are safe to eat. No nights, no title changes for today, but we do have a list of birthdays, actually just a few. This is for, let's see, what is today? The 28th of October, 2018. Baron Mark Tanner says happy birthday to his wife, Beverly. She celebrates on November 6th. He also is celebrating himself on November 3rd, so we say happy birthday to him in advance. Roderick Velo from the award-winning TPO podcast, and that would be Sir Roderick Velo to you, says happy birthday to Bert Brisson. He turns 43 tomorrow, and Roderick himself turns, well, we don't know. He celebrates tomorrow. We're always happy when the Knights are celebrating their birthdays. Happy birthday from everybody here at the best podcast in the universe. Cool. All right. Dvorak.org/NA. You keep us on the air. It's the only way that it works for us. I did want to bring an update on the Austin water crisis. I learned quite a lot, and this, by the way, this right here, this is a glass.
Do you have the note?
I do. This is a glass of Austin tap water, and here we go. I just drank it, and I'm not dead because
yet
it's bull. No, I since I got my note in, only today. So this is now a week.
It was supposed to be today.
Oh, no, it was supposed to be done today. It's not done. Oh, no, we're still under a boil mandate.
I thought it was still today.
No, we're still under, so this is now a week.
You're going to ruin this whole scam.
Yes.
I'm warning everybody. This is a scam ruination moment. There's no way we can not read what he's about to read.
Yeah, this is a total scam, and the citizens, the taxpayers of Austin, the residents of Austin have been scammed. Only today in the Austin Statesman is there a headline, questions being asked about the water plants. Why is this? This may last another week. I'm telling you, Austin is partially shut down because no one can. Water is very important, particularly in restaurants and other places of food and beverage.
I think you should read from the note.
Yes, this is from, Dear Adam and John, I'm a Missouri State licensed, I love our producers, by the way. I love all of you. I'm a Missouri State licensed water and wastewater treatment professional. I'm one test away from being certified to operate any drinking water plant in the United States. With my standing established, and after a review of local news reports of your water woes and looking at the treatment system Austin has in place as described on their website, here's my theory of what is happening. Austin's source water is a surface lake which is subject to the risk of all surface source waters, namely pathogens like cholera, Cryptosporidium, Giardia, that sounds bad, Giardia viruses, and liberals. Oh, that was just a joke. And suspended particles of dirt and organic matter collectively known as turbidity. Turbidity is measured in the metric nephthylometric unit. So it's an NTU, turbidity units. Basically a measure of how light can beam through a sample. The dirtier the water, the higher the number. In a plant like mine, which uses source water from the dirty Mississippi River, our turbidity can range from a baseline of 10 to 30 NTU and rapidly spike to 100, 300, 600, or 1,000 NTUs after rains or flooding, both of which SC Austin has recently experienced. Our plant is designed to deal with that level of what we experts call, quote, fucked up water. That's an expert term. You can use this anywhere. If you're ever in a water plant, you say, you got any fucked up water? But only to a limit. Above about 600 NTU or so, my plant starts to become overwhelmed and we can no longer produce on spec legal water at a normal rate. So we have to reduce flow to allow for more settling. That's the sedimentation. That's the silt. We could start to fall behind on production. Demand can exceed supply, and that can cause pressure in the distribution system to drop below the 20 psi minimum pressure, which I found out on the last show, potentially allowing leaks in the mains to contaminate the system. That's what you discussed on the show. This upper turbidity limit is different for every plant, and plants that treat lake water are almost always designed to deal with much lower turbidity than a dirty river plant. So clearly we have much dirtier water than we used to have, and I think it's because of the carp that they stock the Lake Austin with, but no one has discussed that. So they lack the treatment flexibility to respond to huge spikes because they rarely see it happen in lakes. He says, I've experienced this myself. But, and here it is, insider tip, don't tell anyone, but sometimes a boil order is a false flag operation of last resort to get people to conserve water when supplies are low to prevent the supply from being drawn so low it loses pressure. I was suggested this by a consulting engineer with decades more experience than me. So we're under a false flag in Austin, Texas. I'm pretty sure of it. And I like how they just call it a false flag in the business.
Yes.
Hello?
Exactly what it is.
It's a false flag.
It's to keep people from using the water. It keeps the pressure from dropping too low, and then the whole things start to cave in. But, I mean, there's water in New York City that's running through these old wooden pipes that apparently, if the pressure dropped below a certain minimum, the whole thing would collapse. The whole system would go down.
Yep.
You have to be careful. You just have to buffalo the public, tell them.
I wish they wouldn't.
If you don't boil the water, you're going to drop dead.
Yeah,
so
let me have another sip. I'm going to have another sip of Austin water.
Have diarrhea in 5 minutes.
No problem.
Maybe that's not a false flag. Maybe they got some problems with that water.
I'm 2 for 2 today. I'm drinking the water. I'm eating the huckleberry preserves. It's amazing I'm still standing.
I wonder what it is.
I do have a quick agenda just to follow up 2030. Just a headline. Super typhoon. This is a great one. Where's this from? Let me see who wrote this. This is from, let me open up. I don't know where this is originally from. Super typhoon Mangkhut hits the Philippines. So there's a new super typhoon. But check this out. With power of 500,000 Hiroshima bombs. How about that for a headline? Yeah.
Oh, come on.
A super typhoon that has dwarfed Hurricane Florence is set to break records as it tears towards the Philippines with 1 million people at risk. It's called Mangkhut and has the power of 500,000 Hiroshima nukes. And maybe we should, just so people remember, let me get the Al Gore
meme.
And it now traps as much extra heat energy every day as would be released by 500,000 Hiroshima-class atomic bombs exploding every day.
There you go. It is a meme. And it's a good one, too. I mean, it stands out like a sore thumb.
Stands a little too much out like a sore thumb. I promised that I was going to get you that L. Roker making his secondary comments.
About Megyn Kelly.
About Megyn Kelly, and I have a follow-up, which makes me think that Megyn Kelly may have been set up, and I'll have a reason for that shortly. But let's listen to this first.
Roker on Kelly?
Yeah, Roker
Well,
on
she
Kelly.
apologized to the staff. She owes a bigger apology to folks of color around the country, because this is a history going back to the 1830s, minstrel shows to demean and denigrate a race wasn't right. I'm old enough to have lived through Amos and Andy, where you had white people in blackface playing two black characters, and with just magnifying the worst stereotypes about black people. And that's what the big problem is.
Okay. I just want to remind us, the last time we were playing Megyn Kelly clips is when she sided against NBC in the Me Too. Remember on her show, she was talking about #Me Too and was siding against her own outfit, not grabbing stories that they should have. So she was on the way out. You can't do that.
I was going to bring the same exact topic up. You beat me to it.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize.
No, I just nothing to be sorry about. You just beat me to it. She, I believe, was doomed when she did that. And I think the same thing would have happened to Stephen Colbert if had Les Moonves stayed in business. And I think he still may be up for having his head chopped off because of his going after Moonves. And Megyn Kelly, because I was doing this, I went and downloaded all of her tweets. I did all this research I wanted to find a clip or something. I couldn't do it, but I knew about it, that she had come after the execs at NBC for the Me Too stuff.
Yeah, do you remember we had a clip of that? I just don't remember what it was.
I don't remember that we had a clip of it, but it was the dumbest thing she ever did. And because you're working there. I mean, it's like, yeah, okay, maybe you're working someplace else, you can bring it up then. I don't know if people don't understand this, but usually if somebody's paying your bills, if you're so sickened by them and the way they act, you quit.
This was from here we go. This is from September 6th.
As you heard in that report, NBC News says now that, quote, there was not a single victim of or witness to misconduct by Weinstein who was willing to be identified. Moreover, they say Rose McGowan had refused to name Weinstein, and then her lawyer sent a cease and desist letter in August 2017. Late last night, Rose McGowan and Rich McHugh, the former NBC producer, both challenged that assertion, telling Megyn Kelly today that McGowan did go on the record with NBC in February 2017. After that on-camera interview with Farrell, and that she did name Harvey Weinstein as her rapist. Both McGowan and Rich McHugh say NBC had this on-the-record, off-camera assertion from McGowan.
I mean, we can go on, but I'm pretty sure it's another 2 minutes.
Yeah, that would be the kiss of death.
Yeah, that's...
Well, because the way these shows are done and the fact that she's not writing the shows. She doesn't write her show. These shows there's a $30 million budget on this show. To do it because people are bitching about how much it costs to do the show, and that includes a lot of writers. And so it would not be a bad thing to have a show that has even more forward, say, like way that it's going to take like maybe a month before this incident happened. Mm-hmm. That they're going to roll the show out as a Halloween show, and for the writers to put this into the show as an element of discussion, knowing she's going to screw it up, to get her to quit. And the point of emphasis would have been the supermarket or the superstore clip that I'm going to play here, which is from the latest episode of Superstore, which one of our producers found. And it discusses the same thing that Kelly would have been discussing and does mention blackface, and it becomes a big political thing. It starts off with the lead actress wearing a mustache and a Mario, which I believe was mentioned by Megyn in one of her expositions, a Mario costume, and now for a contest at the store, and all these guys are getting dressed up in different things, and a conversation ensues.
I don't understand why Amy's a mustache, but I can't wear my dreadlocks.
And I can't wear a grass skirt and coconut boobs.
Let her wear the coconut boobs, you monsters.
It's because those costumes objectify a whole culture. I am not dressed as an Italian. I am dressed as a character who happens to be Italian.
So I'm not allowed to dress up as a Jamaican, but if I'm dressing up as Bob Marley, who happens to be Jamaican, then everything be Irishman.
No.
What's the difference?
It's different. Jonah, I feel like you can explain this better than I can.
I know it's different. I'm just having trouble putting into words why. Janet, could you explain it to them?
Why me?
No reason. Just you know stuff.
It's no different. If we let Amy wear that costume, then we might as well let Marcus wear blackface.
That's awesome. No, it's not the same.
Wait. Why can't I paint my face to look like Bob Marley, but Elias can paint his to look like a Smurf?
You can't just... There's a whole history. Janet?
Yeah?
Nothing. I'm just checking in. How you doing? Are you good?
Okay. You know what? This is getting too complicated. Let's just cancel the contest.
What? No.
It's not worth upsetting everybody over one day off work.
We can't just live our lives afraid to offend someone. I think that we as a society, we need to just lighten up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, really, if I think about it, Mario is a hardworking plumber that rescues princesses. If anything, that costume honors Italians.
Yes.
So I can wear my hula outfit if I'm honoring Hawaiians.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you feel like it's about honoring the culture and not just to look sexy.
Yep, I'm honoring the culture.
And I can wear my Rasta hat if it's about honoring Jamaicans.
Well, I mean, I guess if we're saying that it's all or nothing, then can't really think of a reason to say no.
Okay, then. Contest back on.
Okay. Great. Have you been wearing that under your shirt all day?
Yeah. I don't know how you do it.
Wow. So that's also on NBC, Superstore.
Yep.
And Megyn Kelly, the clip I saw, which I wish we probably should have had it, she was talking about a friend of hers who dressed up as Diana Ross. And that was the
Megyn. That's the Megyn story.
Megyn. Yeah, that was the.
I had that clip somewhere. I don't know.
It was the huge offense.
Yeah, she was going on and on about dress. It was almost the exact same conversation.
Yes,
that was in
very
the show.
very similar for Halloween, no less.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, now has she? So she's taken the deal. I'm sure it has a non-disclosure. Then she's done. Is that official now?
Yeah.
$69 million.
I think so. She's gonna she'll be walking away with $60 million. But she'll never get work again.
But this cultural appropriation thing is just so tired of it. If you're transsexual, are you then sexually appropriating?
You're not. You don't want to really start this chat. I'm sure you don't.
I'm gonna get fired.
Now the thing is that she was doomed from, and I believe you hit the nail on the head, from her early admonishments of NBC executives. When she had no business doing that. It's not her place. The show is written for her. She reads from a prompter. Most of it, she does have some, in the little discussion area. I believe that she was set up because of the Superstore episode coming up. So the writers were clued in. They could use it. They could point to it. Say, well, yeah, because this show's coming up, and we could even plug it if we wanted to, but they didn't have to do much because Kelly just drove the truck right off the road.
And then the Today Show did all the rest. They just put the nail right into the stake right into her heart with Al Roker as the hitman.
If you want to read something funny, go to Variety. There's about 3 or 4 articles, including an advertorial. What am I thinking? An editorial, and it is the funniest stuff you'll ever read. Oh, nobody liked her at the network. Everyone hated her. And just all this, we're so glad she's gone. We hated her. And it's just the funniest thing you've ever read because it's just a classic. And so she's out. I think it's I don't know. She was a good fit. It was dumb. I mean, she took the money but she's never going to work again in any major media that I can tell. She's not presentable for one thing.
No.
She is she's got too much of an old-fashioned look. Her look is old-fashioned. She's got an old-fashioned kind of beauty that is not modern. It's not unapproachable. I think the network knew they made a mistake when they put her on. This was her second show. The first show.
Hey, let's face it. She just wasn't that good. She's never been that good, and she's okay just reading the prompter like she did on Fox. Yeah. Just read the prompter, look pretty. I'm sorry to say it, but I'm a television producer in my spare time. And look pretty and read the prompter. Twirl around. That's Fox. We all know it. And she was really good at that. She's very smart. She's a lawyer, so there's nothing wrong with that. But
she's not a dummy.
She could not carry a talk show at all. And the sick thing of this, the really sick thing for this network, which has consistently hidden their atrocities against predominantly women, and I might want to add that we now know that NBC News knew that the Avenatti woman in the Kavanaugh hearing, who claimed that he had raped women 10 times in a row and drugged the punch and everything, they knew before the trial that was a lie. And it was something Avenatti had written up, but the woman who was attributed to that did an interview with NBC before the hearing and said, no, that's not true. That's totally misrepresented. And they did not release that information until it's out now.
No, NBC is a bad actor.
But the disgusting thing is they are using black Americans to get rid of a problem that they have internally. It's disgusting. That's disgusting.
Oh, you mean by the blackface thing?
Yeah,
using
they use the blackface thing in a completely inconsistent manner to their own programming, because what you just played from Superstore is exactly very similar conversation. In fact, I think it went even a little bit further on Superstore. But hey, it was an approved script, and I guess Megan,
no, they wanted her out.
They want her out, but they're using it over the back of the black.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. No, what am I saying? It's very believable.
It's very believable, and NBC is, we got the NBC's got one agenda, and the ABC's got the Bob Iger thing going on because he wants to be. And so I see this. I put it in the newsletter, and I guess it's older, but I never even realized this. But Valerie Jarrett was called, I guess, by Iger, and asked about what to do about Roseanne.
Huh.
That was a tweet. It was in the newsletter. It was in the
I didn't see that.
The little things at the end. I have always these clips. And I'm thinking, why is Valerie Jarrett? What has she got to do with programming at ABC?
No, I'm sure she's very influential.
So this is a den of thieves. The media is a den of thieves.
Oh, you're kidding me. 11 years, he's figured it out. I have a disturbing news, but something that I really desperately want to share, as this really came onto my radar from the lowlands. I think we've discussed before that Obamacare, the concept of Obamacare, was successfully implemented in the Netherlands. Their socialized medicine, their socialized system, and it was very, very similar to the Obamacare model, right down to, well, if you're a poor schlub, you get free health care, and if you're just above the poor schlub level, you have a mandated payment you have to make. And I think it's about $150. Christina pays, I think, 150 euros a month, mandated for it. And the health care is crap. It includes nothing. So that sounds a lot like Obamacare. In fact, it is based on that model, with the insurance companies running the entire show, and the taxpayer paying for the mandated part, but also very high premiums if you have some kind of plan that will work for you. And what happened last week in the Netherlands? They closed 2 hospitals overnight, 90,000 patients, 5,000 doctors and nurses and other medical professionals, done on the street, nowhere to go. 90,000 patients.
What?
Yeah, and they're saying now they may even have to close a couple more hospitals because the insurance companies and the banks will no longer support them. They're closed. They're closed. They're wheeling patients out on the beds, trying to get them to some other hospital.
No.
Yes. It's
been hoaxed.
It's an outrage. People are so mad. Of course, because they just, the ING, they were just fined for, laundering money, and no one goes to jail, and it's okay, just pay a little bit of a fine. But meanwhile, the hospitals are literally closing with patients and professionals inside. It's just done.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't sound like it's working out.
No, I think bullet somewhat dodged, although I don't think we're out of the woods yet by a long shot.
Huh.
Yeah. I'm waiting for someone to pick that up.
I think it's great that you've finished on a high note here on the show.
No, I have a real high note for you.
Okay, good.
Yeah, this is the true high note. It's for you.
A pretty bizarre thing happened during last year's deadly earthquake off the coast of Mexico, and it doesn't really bode well for the U.S. Pacific coast. So this was an 8.2 magnitude earthquake, and it was not only much deeper than models said it should be, it actually broke a tectonic plate in two. And that's only been seen before in a handful of places. Doesn't really happen very often. The scary thing is, no one really knows how it happened. Some of the experts do think that it's possible seawater might have gotten into the plate. That could have sped up the cooling and made it more susceptible to tension quakes. If that is the case, places along the West Coast and from Guatemala southward in Central America are susceptible to tension quakes, and they can be super destructive. There's one in Japan in 1933 that generated a 94-foot-high tsunami that killed more than 1,500 people.
Yeah. Thanks.
Doesn't sound too. Some tectonic shifting could go down, man. I'm a little worried out there. And I don't think you're much safer in Washington either.
No, Washington is worse.
Yeah.
If the Cascade thing goes, it's a real mess. I mean, that's the one that, if you remember, you probably were a little kid when the Alaskan quake went off.
Mm-hmm.
And they showed pictures from this. It was like a high 7, but there was the old numbering system. And there's like big chunks of the earth that are up 50 feet in the air, and the other, it's just a mess. I mean, huge movement of. It's not like the little rumbling or a wave or any of these things that kind of shake the buildings. It's just more of a mess, and that's the northern part of these. But they don't happen that often. They're pretty rare.
Well, I'm obviously hoping.
This could also set off some volcanoes. They think that Shasta could go off.
But that's Mount Shasta?
Yeah, Mount Shasta.
Has that thing ever gone up?
Has to be Shasta. Well, it must have, because it's a huge, giant cauldron and caldera. I mean, it's a big, giant mountain filled with water. It hasn't gone off in our lifetimes, but could go off. I mean, Mount St. Helens didn't either. There's about, 5 or 6 of these giant volcanoes on the West Coast that could go off.
Yay. Super yay.
As long as you're down upwind, it's usually okay.
All right, you got one more so we can get out of here?
If I'm going to do some, I have to do them from the past shows.
Because, no, we don't have to do that. We don't do that.
There's one I really would like to get out of the way, though, from the past show.
All right.
Look up Professor Eric Klein. There's 2 clips. And Eric Klein is an archaeologist who gives really fantastic lectures, and he talks a little bit about junk science in one of these clips, and he never says it's about the global warming climate scientists, but you can hear it in there, and we'll play that clip on the next show. I want to play this clip. This is the Professor Eric Klein, George Washington. He pronounces Eritrea, which is that little country in Africa that has been mispronounced as Eritrea and all these different things. This guy is a world historic archaeologist type. He is going to give us the right pronunciation, and I don't believe any of the CNN pronouncers or the gazetteers or anything else. This is the way I've always pronounced it.
This is the Queen of Punt down there in the bottom. And she even tells us that her name is Eti, E-T-I. So we know that they went down to Punt. The problem is we didn't know where Punt was. It could be Yemen, it could be Ethiopia, it could be any number of places. Turns out it is Ethiopia, or Eritrea, or Ethiopia, because
Eritrea.
of a baboon mummy in the British Museum.
I think he's thinking of urethra or something. I don't know.
It's pronounced Eritrea. That's the way it's pronounced. I've always pronounced it that way, and I've been disturbed by all these mispronunciations I've been hearing on the media. Eritrea is typical.
And he's the world-renowned guy, the expert in the field.
He is the guy. He's talking about ancient history.
Well, someone better send him a clip of this once I have it edited to sound seamless. And that will do it for today's deconstruction of your media and other things. Looking forward to what our producers feed back to us. It's how the Value Network works. And please remember to support the show at Dvorak.org/NA. I'm looking forward to it very much. See you on Thursday. Until then, coming to you from downtown Austin, Texas, capital of the Drone Star State. It is in FEMA Region number 6 on all governmental maps in the 5x9 Cludio in the common law condo. In the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, I don't know any of the details except it's around here somewhere. I'm John C. Dvorak.
We return on Thursday with another episode of the best podcast in the universe, your No Agenda show. Remember us at Dvorak.org/NA. Until then, adios, mofos!
Donate to a No Agenda. They give us shows week after week. Donate to a No Agenda. It's a show that's really unique. Donate to a No Agenda. Listen to John and Adam speak. Donate to a No Agenda. Science is turning into a clique.
I got ants. I got ants. I don't know if we had ants. We had ant invasion. I was thinking if you desiccated a big pile of ants and then ground them to a powder like a fine grind of black pepper, we were having dinner and I got an ant somehow in the meal and I ate it. These things are peppery. I got ants. I got ants. These ants, they don't need a lot. And then you find all the ones that are roaming around. I backed them off by doing the burning trick. You just torch them. And you leave them there. The only ant, there are occasional moments where there's an ant that you do not torch, and that's an ant that's carrying one of the dead ants back. I got ants. I got ants. I got ants. I got ants. 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 Ants.
Here's what I've said. I've said that we need the information. We need to connect the dots. And we got to drill down. We've got to connect the dots. Get the facts. Connect the dots. Do everything that I possibly can to help connect the dots. I've said we've got to connect the dots. I've always said, if we connect the dots, I believe that they should have to connect the dots if we're able to connect the dots. And if we determine the facts, if the dots are connected, let's get to the bottom of it all. Let's see if the dots connect.
That doll is offensive to me. No, I do want you to take it down. You fucking selfish, dumbass idiot. I'm a passenger in your car. Yeah, you're welcome. It's not sad, it's important. It's actually super relevant. No, you will be published on Gawker, and you'll be like the next internet meme. It's going to be super funny. You're going to be on Gawker. It's actually super relevant. Yeah, no, I do want you to, because it's actually deeply offensive to the continent of Hawaii. And you'll be like the next internet meme. It's going to be super funny. You fucking selfish, dumbass idiot. You are being rude. And you'll be like the next internet meme. It's going to be super funny.
Hey everyone, let's go. Let's go. Let's go, bitches. Let's go. I just wanted to say thanks, bitches. Kiddo? This is directed to the activist bitches supporting bitches. Let's go. Kiddo? Let's go. Hey everyone, let's go. Let's go, bitches. Let's go. This is directed to the activist bitches supporting bitches. Let's go. Kiddo? Let's go. Hey everyone, let's go. Let's go, bitches. Let's go. Hey everyone. I just wanted to say thanks, bitches. Let's go. This is directed to the activist bitches supporting bitches. Let's go. Kiddo? Let's go. Hey everyone. Let's go. Let's go, bitches. Let's go. This is directed to the activist bitches supporting bitches. Let's go. Kiddo? Let's go. Hey everyone. Let's go. Let's go, bitches. Let's go. This is directed to the activist bitches supporting bitches. Let's go. Kiddo? Let's go.
The best podcast in the universe.
Adios, mofo.
Dvorak.org/NA.
It's a bad day for humanity.